right, Robin, couldn't have asked for a better night in Stillwater to get this season started. It's the number 10 team in the country, Oklahoma State, ready to welcome in Tulsa on opening day from Boone Pickens Stadium. And we say welcome inside. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman joins us in just a moment. And it is so good to be back here. Hear the bands playing, hear the stadium roaring as we get ready to get this season started. And Brady, when you think about Oklahoma State, when Mason Rudolph and James Washington announced last December that they were coming back, the Cowboys immediately became a legitimate contender for the playoff with one of the best offenses in the game.
And the reason being, he had something to prove, and that's to win a Big 12 title. And it all starts here tonight. He had a phenomenal season last year. When you look at Mason Rudolph, he is your perfect pocket passer. He's tall, he's got a strong arm, he's incredibly accurate, and he's a good decision maker. But really what makes him special is his downfield throwing. He does a good job off of the play action pass of giving the fake and getting his head and eyes back around to set up to make the downfield throw. As you can see, he's got a strong enough arm to put enough trajectory and enough air on the ball to let James Washington and the rest of the wide receivers run to the football to make big plays. And Joe, I got to tell you, he's got plenty of talent. It's James Washington, it's Jalen McCleskey, but really there's 6 other wide receivers that they're going to rotate in. It's an incredible supporting cast.
They face a Tulsa team that is no pushover. They won 10 games a season ago, and while we don't know even now who the starting quarterback is going to be, we know Philip Montgomery's the head coach, and his teams always score a lot of points.
At Houston, at Baylor, now at Tulsa last year, and here's the other kicker. 4 returning starters on the offensive line and a 1,000-yard rusher, so he's going to have some help, whoever it is.
You ready to get this started?
Oh, I can't wait.
It is Tulsa ready to take the field against Oklahoma State. We've got opening kickoff on the other side of this break. Ready to rock from Stillwater. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, and down on the field tonight, Bruce Feldman.
Joe, James Washington is fast, he is physical, but rival coaches told me the thing that really makes this offense special is the connection that he and Mason Rudolph have. They are always on the same page, and they are really, really good at making adjustments on the fly. Mason told me he knows coverages about as well as I do now. And when I talked to Washington, he said, this is a bond that has grown from the first day I met him on our official visit here. He comes over for barbecue, we watch games together, each day we get closer, and it's a really, really special deal we have.
And you can tell when you watch him play.
Anytime Mason Rudolph is in trouble, he goes looking for number 28, his big play wide receiver.
Tulsa won the toss and deferred, so we get to see Rudolph and Washington and the Cowboys offense right away. Two teams coming off 10-win seasons a year ago. Oklahoma State in the preseason top 10 for just the 3rd time in program history. Legitimate college football playoff aspirations. Tulsa trying to get its first top 25 win since 2010. We're all set. Redford Jones descended away. And off we go from Stillwater. It's a short kick taken by Chris Lacey. And Oklahoma State will start at the 26-yard line. So here he comes, Mason Rudolph.
The things I love about him most, he's accurate, in particular down the field like we talked about in the open. He's a good decision maker. Only 4 interceptions last season, and he's a better athlete than you would expect. When you see him get pressure, he can buy time in the pocket. Every once in a while, he's going to hurt you with his legs in the zone read scheme or scrambling with the football.
28 touchdowns to only those 4 interceptions a year ago. The best touchdown to interception ratio in the country. They begin the year with a run for Justice Hill, who was a freshman All-American a season ago, but he's banged out of bounds shy of the line of scrimmage by Craig Seuss.
number change for Justice Hill this year. Was number 27, went to number 5, and you're going to see they're going to play that up-tempo offense. It's so tough to defend.
First pass play. Rudolph lets it go and has a first down to Chris Lacey. You mentioned it's not just McCleskey and Washington. The list goes on with the targets.
They're so deep, they're so fast and talented, and they all have their specific skill sets.
On 1st and 10 from the 34. Big hole for Hill this time, and he spins his way for 7. Into the arms of Cooper Edmiston. It'll be 2nd and short.
That's what makes Justice Hill so special. He's the complete package. He can make you miss. He's good in pass pro, and he's good catching the football as well.
Boy, and they're wasting no time. Lacey can't hang on. It'll be 3rd and short. And we take a look at the keys to the game, sponsored by the Lincoln Continental.
For Tulsa, you're playing the number 10 team in the country. Got to play clean. No penalties, turnovers, or missed assignments. And for Oklahoma State, expect the unexpected. And this is a big game for Tulsa on a national stage. They're going to throw in some wrinkles here and there and try to surprise you.
Opening drive for the Cowboys, and on 3rd down and 3. Tulsa brings 5. Rudolph on the speed out, has a first down. That is Dylan Stoner, the redshirt freshman who redshirted last year with an injury. His first catch of the year. And a first down from midfield. Rudolph flats it fly to the outside. Washington has his first catch.
How can you not be impressed by him? On time outside to his right, on time outside for a 3rd down conversion to his left. That's what makes him so special. He can throw from the opposite hash. He's got the arm strength, but he's also as accurate as they come.
Senior from Rock Hill, South Carolina, Northwestern High School. On 2nd and 5 from the 45. Here comes Hill. Wrapped up at the line of scrimmage and dropped by Jesse Brubaker, one of the 2 very good defensive ends on this Tulsa defense.
Maybe one of the best tandems in the country when you look at their ability to get in the backfield, get tackles for loss, and really sacks. Both of them are technicians, but they also, on passing downs, are very good at getting to the quarterback.
So 2nd, 3rd down in this opening drive for Oklahoma State. Tulsa drops 7. He gets rid of it as he's drilled down the sideline and caught for a touchdown. Tyron Johnson's first reception at Oklahoma State goes for a 44-yard score.
Tyron Johnson can absolutely fly. You saw a little piece of that right there. He's a guy that the coaches talked about, Joe. At the midway point of the season, he may be the wide receiver everyone's talking about with his ability and skill set.
Transferred in from LSU. Highly touted recruit there. Redshirted at Oklahoma State last year, and they are fired up about what he can bring them.
Take another look. This is just all speed and a well-thrown football by Mason Rudolph with Tyron Johnson making the play. Tulsa will get their shot coming up next.
Mason Rudolph 4 for 5 on that opening drive with a pair of 3rd down conversions. The second one going for a touchdown to the LSU transfer Tyron Johnson. And now Tulsa will get it for the first time. Bishop Louis back to return this kick from Matt Amendola. He will take a knee. Golden Hurricane to start at the 25, and we're finally going to get our answer that we couldn't even get asking them personally on the field before the game. Chad President will take the first snaps at quarterback.
And a bit of a change for Tulsa. When you go back to last season, the prolific numbers that they put up with Dane Evans at quarterback, now with the Philadelphia Eagles, it was more of a passing offense, even though they had a couple thousand-yard rushers. Chad President really excels in running the football. He's got some game experience. He's played in 6 games in his career, but not any starting experience. So this is going to be something new for him.
That was off the bench as a freshman 2 years ago. They missed all but the opener last year with a leg injury. We expect both will play, but it's Chad President for play number 1. D'Angelo Brewer. A penetration coming from DeQuinton Osborne. It's a short gain. It's second down, and here's Bruce.
Joe, Chad President was a former 4-star recruit who was actually committed to Baylor when Philip Montgomery was a coach there. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of the wrinkles that they did with that system when they had RG3. This kid runs a legit 4-5. You will see him do a lot of dynamic stuff with him.
Well, and then number 10 of all, Robert Griffin III. He scrambles to his right. Great speed to be able to angle him towards the sideline, and he's close to a first down. Pushed out by Trey Flowers.
And that's the element that he's going to bring to this offense. I'm sure things will be simplified, where if it's not there, go ahead and take off and utilize your speed and pick up what you can.
Like you said, I mean, it's going to be the same system, but different personality from the guy that's been pulling the trigger in Dane Evans previously. From the 36-yard line, here's Brewer again. Ran for more than 1,400 yards a season ago and was second in the conference. Here he's bottled up, second down.
Number 7, Ramon Richards, coming in there laying a hit. He's a guy who's transitioned from cornerback to now playing safety for Oklahoma State. And part of the reason why they like putting him there is he's so aggressive when he comes up to make tackles in the run game.
And we know about the offense for Oklahoma State, but a big question, how good is this defense going to be? 6 new starters, including a pair of new corners facing a high-powered offense tonight. High throw pulled down, nowhere for Keenan Johnson to go. There is Ramon Richards, and it's 3rd and long.
The senior out of San Antonio, Texas. It's his instincts. I mean, that's where they feel like they could put him at cornerback and move him to safety, because he's got such good eye discipline, and he's got the ability to be able to read quarterbacks and break on route concepts or break on the football and make tackles in space.
3rd down, 16.
Figure with Chad President, inexperienced quarterback. Do you bring pressure? It doesn't look like defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer is electing to.
They bring 5. President steps up and takes off. Needs the 46, and he's close. They spot him a yard short. It's 4th and 1.
And that's what you worry about. They ended up bringing a cross dog linebacker blitz. And what happened was it created a running lane for Chad President. It looks like he almost got to the first down. And appears they're going to go for it.
Love it. Huh?
Why not? National stage, first game of the season. What do you have to lose if you're Tulsa?
Opening drive, Tulsa, 4th down and 1. It's Brewer straight ahead, and he's got a first down. So they had it 3rd and 16 and wind up converting.
And look, Tulsa was good last year converting on 4th down. They were about 60%.
Off play action on first down. President to the sideline, throws a wobbling duck, 2nd and 10. So we talked about it off of the top, but no matter who the quarterback's been, when Philip Montgomery's been in charge, they've been prolific.
And he brings those wrinkles and that spread formations that you typically see at Baylor and some of the other schools in the Big 12. Forces defenders have to play in space, helps clear up the box count for their offensive line.
Brewer on 2nd down, nothing doing. Jordan Brailford is part of this very deep defensive front for Oklahoma State. Makes it 3rd down and 8 or 9.
This is where Oklahoma State really would like to excel this year, is put teams in 3rd and long. Last year, they kind of played more of a bend but don't break defense. Really played good red zone defense when teams got there, but they need to do a better job if they want to win the Big 12 of getting off the field on 3rd down.
That play clock down to 5. And they need to burn a timeout here. They just barely get it off on 3rd down. President down the seam. It is incomplete. Coverage from A.J. Green. Josh Stewart was out there. It's 4th down.
The Oklahoma State secondary is largely untested. A.J. Green's a sophomore. not much experience at all. So they're going to test these guys on the outside. That's part of Philip Montgomery's system, is stretching the field vertically, making you have to defend every single inch. And so far, Oklahoma State doing a pretty good job, at least in the pass coverage department.
Jalen McCleskey back to return this punt. From Thomas Bennett. His dad, Darren Bennett, was an all-pro punter with the Chargers years back. Off the side of his foot and out of bounds inside the 20. They will spot it at the 19-yard line. Mason Rudolph led a touchdown drive their first time out. They're back out there when you come back to Stillwater on opening night. Oklahoma State ready to take the ball again, up 7-0, and we've got our rules experts back in Los Angeles. I don't know what it is. Mike looks a little bit older this year. Is it maybe Dean Blandino, the former senior VP of officiating, now joining Mike?
You know, hey, Joe, they brought in the young guy and the better-looking guy. I think they're trying to phase me out here, you know?
It's going to be great.
I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to learn from Mike.
It's great to have you, Dean.
I know they save our tail all the time, and they're always teaching us about the rules and regulations. So I'm excited to have Dean aboard. He's fantastic, and obviously so is Mike.
Oklahoma State begins this drive with a draw. A ton of room for Justice Hill, who's got a dozen and a first down. From the 31, off play action on the slant, James Washington. Another first down to the 47.
And that's what makes this offense so dangerous, is the play action pass game. Once they get a run going, then the defense has to respect that. And the second that you make that little fake, it pulls up the coverage and leaves you a bigger window.
Washington again. This time he gets only 2. Craig Suits over to bump him out. Second down.
Seeing a much more controlled passing offense. Years past, you used to see 2 tight ends in the backfield, those cowboy tight ends that Mike Gundy likes to use. This year, it looks like it's only going to be number 41, Britton Abbott, who just left the field. But many more 4 wide receiver sets, and it's because they're so deep and all these guys are so talented.
Another draw play for Hill. Able to stiff arm a defender, cut to the outside and get a first down. Manny Bunch eventually brings him down after 12.
And the draw plays are effective versus Tulsa because Brew Baker and Jeremy Smith, their defensive ends, they rush so fast upfield thinking it's pass. It creates that running lane in those big gains that we've seen now from Justice Hill twice in this drive.
Showed off some of that new strength. They say he's totally different physically. Here is a sophomore, put on about 15 pounds.
And he's really a complete back. He can do it all. They don't ask him to be in pass protection much, but even then he still holds his own.
Here he is again. This time can't spin free. Another stop for Craig Suits, who's off to a good start in this game. We go back to the previous play.
You talked about the 15 pounds of muscle he put on. I think some of that went into this stiff arm right here. As you see him pushing away Colton Schindler, who's every bit of 280, 285 pounds. Look at the moves afterwards.
A little bit of everything on display on that one run. Now he gets to come out. And J.D. King, a true freshman, comes in at running back. On second and long. Rudolph well protected from a clean pocket. End zone Washington. Touchdown.
If there was one concern for the Oklahoma State offense, it might have been their protection, but this is a pretty clean pocket, and you can see why Mason Rudolph is so effective operating from it. There's no one around him. We talked about his deep ball accuracy, a lot of air, a lot of touch on that ball, and allows James Washington to run to it for 6.
Amendola adds the extra point. 2 drives for Oklahoma State. A 44-yard touchdown. First for Tyron Johnson. Now from 40 yards, it's James Washington, and it's 14-0 Oklahoma State. FS1 College Football is sponsored by the Lincoln Continental. Back in Oklahoma. Oklahoma State has a pair of touchdowns on its first 2 drives. The most recent, James Washington from 40.
Look at the efficiency of Mason Rudolph. 7 for 8, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Now on the 27th to Washington to lead the country. And now Tulsa will get it again. Here comes Bishop Louis. A flag comes flying in. A flag down with a return to the 20. Referee tonight is Dan Romeo.
During the return of the kick, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 59. Half the distance to goal. First down.
Take a look back at that touchdown pass from Rudolph.
And it was really the route concept that got James Washington open. Well, besides his speed, but if you freeze it right here. This is number 13, Jordan Mitchell. He gets eaten up by Jalen McCleskey in the slot. And because the cornerback, Kerwin Thomas, has outside leverage, that post route is easy. James Washington with that speed and a cornerback with outside leverage, he can break to the inside of the field where Mason Rudolph can lay it up for a touchdown.
And it has looked easy. You mentioned Rudolph's numbers so far. 7 for 8 for 123 and 2 touchdowns. And we're just at the midway point of this first quarter.
What's interesting, we're seeing Chad President again. Maybe Philip Montgomery felt like he did enough in that first drive where he's not going to rotate Luke Skipper in.
Backed into their own end. Here's Brewer with a hole for a gain of 8. One thing they did really well a year ago is run the ball. They had James Flanders, who led the conference in rushing, but number 2 in the conference was this guy, D'Angelo Brewer. He's got it again on 2nd and 2, and he's submarine right at the marker by Calvin Bundage. He's got it off, first down.
I think everyone has this misconception of the Baylor offenses, these spread offenses. Really, it spreads out the field so they can run the football more effectively.
First pass of the drive knocked down. Terrell Owens got his hand on it. 2nd and 10.
This defensive front for Oklahoma State, they're missing a guy like Vincent Taylor, a 6th-round pick in this past year's draft, but their edge rushers, they feel like they're deep. They're going to rotate them in. They're going to get some pressure on opposing quarterbacks, or at a minimum get their hand up and bat down passes.
Brewer is blown up. Calvin Bundage was in there first, and it's 3rd down and long.
Just talked about the rotation on the defensive line. They're going to rotate their linebackers too, and Bundage is one of those guys who's a starter, but you see how aggressive he is. You see why he's out there. He's maybe a guy you want to keep on the field and not rotate those guys.
Have 6 new starters, but a lot of depth on that defense. So important in the up-tempo Big 12. 3rd down and 10 for Chad President in Tulsa.
Defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer likes to mix up looks. Look how many guys are outside of each side of the offensive line.
All 11 standing. They bring 4, and on a draw play, Brewer falls down. Well, they get out of the shadow of their own goalpost, but ultimately will have to punt it away on 4th down and 13.
That's going to be the one tough transition for Tulsa this year, I think, is not being able to have the type of passer you did last year with Dane Evans, who was the most prolific passer in Tulsa history. It really comes in handy on those 3rd and long situations where you've got to be able to throw the football effectively.
Also had a pair of 1,000-yard receivers last year. Kevin Lucas, Josh Atkinson, both gone. Cowboys set to get good field position here. Almost was blocked. Instead, McCleskey will watch it bounce out near midfield. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns so far for the Cowboys, and Mason Rudolph and the offense back at it after this. Yeah, go to redcross.org, or you can text the word Harvey to 90999 and help the people affected by Hurricane Harvey. Do either one of those things and make a $10 donation, and it enables the Red Cross to prepare for and respond and help people recover from this awful disaster. Latest check, J.J. Watt had raised $10 million. $1 million donation from Ellen DeGeneres. That one flutters out there. It finds Marcel Aitman, who stiff arms his way inside the 5. It winds up being a 49-yard completion, but it was very nearly headed the other way.
This was almost 6 points the other way. Look down at the bottom of your screen. You'll see number 3, Marcel Aitman, waiting on the football. That was almost a disaster.
And one play later, Justice Hill is in the end zone for a touchdown. Potentially game-changing play, and that Kerwin Thomas is unable to step in front of that.
And it's so tough defensively to have a play that almost turns into a big play for your team, then end up being a big play for Oklahoma State, to then get back lined up and be able to put on a goal line stand. It's a roller coaster of emotions.
Ooh, didn't take long.
Too early to start talking Heisman?
The score is getting in the range where we may have some of that discussion as the night goes on. 52 yards in just 17 seconds. We look back at the pass play that set up the score.
Well, it looks like Oklahoma State is picking on number 2, Kerwin Thomas, as you kind of see him at the bottom of the screen. But Marcel Aitman, a wide receiver that they were extremely excited about to get back this year. He missed last year due to injury. More bigger physical wide receivers as we look at Justice Hill taking in the end zone for 6.
So the Cowboys could not have gotten off to a better start here in the season opener for Mike Gundy. How about that mullet, man?
Still has the mullet going. It went from trying to embarrass his son to now being something that he claims has helped the university with millions of dollars of advertising with all the things he's done. People really featuring his mullet. It's beautiful. Look at that thing.
It's perfect. Great color.
Business up front, party in the back.
It's definitely a party. Bishop Louis, third return of the day already, gets popped. Kirk Tucker with a special teams tackle. So 2 possessions for Chad President go nowhere, and Luke Skipper, the freshman, gets his first opportunity.
3-year starter in high school. He was the district player of the year down in Forney, Texas. Had a big spring game earlier this year. Couple touchdown passes, 173 yards. I think that's where some of the hype or momentum built for Luke Skipper, maybe being able to compete with Chad President, who was highly touted recruit coming in, as Bruce mentioned earlier. 4-star recruit at quarterback, but now Luke Skipper gets his shot.
That's Corey Taylor in the game at running back for the first time. His drive begins with a Taylor run and nowhere to go. So what's this like, being a young quarterback, getting ready to come in and make your college debut?
Usually they're just trying to tell you to stay calm and do your job. Don't worry about everyone else's, because you're the guy communicating it to everyone else out there. But just do what you have to do first and execute.
On second down, another run play. It's Taylor again for a gain of 3. And a stop made by Quentin Osborne and Kevin Henry, third down.
This is really, as a young quarterback, where you're tested. Third down, where you're still in an area where you could possibly run the football. These are usually passing downs. And the defense knows it. Let's see if defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer brings some pressure here. He tested Chad President earlier. Let's see if he tests the Skipper.
Instead, he has Skipper staring into 8 men in coverage, and underneath he finds Justin Hobbs. There to depend on the spot, as Madre Harper was all over him. They do give him enough. His first throw as a collegiate is a first down completion.
Justin Hobbs is the wide receiver that I think Philip Montgomery was really hoping would take that next step. He's got the size. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. So they really feel like he can be an impact player. Just needs to be more consistent.
He has that opportunity now with Kevin Lucas, Josh Atkinson both gone. They were the first team in Division I history last year with a 3,000-yard passer, 2 1,000-yard rushers, and 2 1,000-yard receivers. Skipper well protected. Time to scan the field. He decides to take off and gets a short gain. Trey Flowers and Kevin Henry combined to tackle him.
Thought he had a couple wide receivers open early out of their break, but that's the hard thing about when you have a quarterback competition is neither quarterback gets the amount of reps that you need to develop that chemistry and the ability to anticipate when your wide receivers come out of their breaks. It's something that's going to be a learning process for whoever takes over as the starting quarterback for the rest of the year.
On 2nd and 8, it's Taylor. And he's hit at the line of scrimmage, nowhere to go. Chauncey Kem with a tackle, 3rd down.
Oklahoma State continues to rotate in offensive or defensive linemen up front. It's also not necessarily pushing the pace, I think, the way we've seen them do it in the past.
And a timeout taken by Oklahoma State.
First charge timeout, Oklahoma State.
Well, they'll talk about this 3rd down and 8 coming up here. There's been no issues, nothing really to discuss as far as the offense goes. Mason Rudolph has been as advertised thus far.
Only 1 incompletion on the day, and he's really picked apart the Tulsa defense. And look at him throwing under duress. That's something that he did really, really well last year. One of the more accurate passers under pressure. And then when you give him a clean pocket, it only gets even better. I think the thing that impresses me most about him is just his sense of poise and calm demeanor. And that's something we saw from him even as a freshman. When he first stepped on the field in his freshman year, coaches kind of considered him a little bit of a gamer. Wasn't necessarily the best practice player early on in his career, but he's improved that.
Yeah, Mike Gundy said he didn't know what to expect because all he had seen back in that freshman season was practice, and it wasn't good. And he shows up at Baylor and then Bedlam and exceeded any kind of expectations Mike Gundy had. Out of the timeout, 3rd and 8. They rush 4. Skipper has time. Coverage downfield, forces him to tuck it. He gets only a yard and it pops out, but they say that he's down. It was marked down, but it's 4th down.
A lot of first-time starters for the Oklahoma State defense at the cornerback and nickelback positions, but just look at the top of your screen. There's no one running away from anyone. I mean, it is blanket coverage. Really credit this youthful secondary for Oklahoma State. That was kind of the question mark coming into the season as we take a look at Luke Skipper, clearly down before the ball came out. But that was one of the question marks, was whether or not this defense would be able to match what the offense means to this team. And that's one that can win a Big 12 championship. Can the defense keep up?
Low snap picked up and sent away by Thomas Bennett. Taylor McCleskey will have a chance from the 15. He gets around the edge and now reverses field. McCleskey hits the seam, stays on his feet, and pulled down from behind, and it might have been a lot of room ahead had the stop not been made. Well, coming up on Saturday, a full slate of college football on FS1 and Fox. Tom Herman makes his head coaching debut for Texas as they bring in Maryland. And then UTEP and Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma Sooners before Purdue. And the reigning Heisman winner Lamar Jackson finish off the day on Fox.
Can't wait to see what Tom Herman's going to do with that Texas bunch. I mean, those guys are extremely talented and played a lot of football now. They should be maturing into being able to be a more effective team in the Big 12.
Tulsa has had nothing to stand in the way of Oklahoma State so far. This drive starts with a draw play. J.D. King's first career carry goes for 2. They've got Justice Hill, and then they've got 4 freshmen that they plan to rotate in to give him rest.
That's really because junior Jeff Carr decided to transfer. So left him with all freshman running backs sitting behind Justice Hill, but something Oklahoma State's done before.
Stoner off of the bubble screen, fights his way to the 34. And brings his first quarter to a close. Mason Rudolph 9 of 10 for 178 in the first quarter alone. It is all Oklahoma State. The number 10 Cowboys with a 21-0 lead after one. Three drives, 3 touchdowns so far for Oklahoma State. A dominating first quarter. They're averaging 12 yards per play.
Tulsa getting a little bit of experience of what it's like to be on defense versus a Big 12 team. These offenses, man, they're just tough to stop.
Started the second quarter with a 3rd down and 1. Justice Hill back in the game. Rudolph pulls it, and he will run for a 1st down to safety and a gain of 3.
That's the element that you see every once in a while. It's critical situations like 3rd down and then down in the red zone, but a better athlete than people give him credit. It's also what I think makes him so good as a college quarterback, is still being mobile enough to hurt teams with his legs, but so lethal from the pocket with his arm.
On 1st down, here comes Hill. Has room off the right side and takes McKinney for a ride and a 1st down with a little bit different look out there for Oklahoma State on that play.
They're changing different personnels with each drive, utilizing 4 wide receivers earlier. Now they're back into their 2 tight end sets. Number 41, Britton Abbott. Number 42, Sione Fine Fauko.
Close. I'm surprised he even tried. Fine Fayuiaki. Does that sound right?
I wasn't even close on that.
Together we got there. On the 49-yard line, 1st and 10. Here comes a trick play. James Washington has Rudolph as one of his blockers. Tulsa does a nice job to shut it down as Kerwin Thomas stayed home.
This is the part of the field where offensive coordinator Mike Yursich likes to mix in these sorts of plays, reverses, double passes. Feels pretty confident in the middle of the field, and anytime the ball's in James Washington's hands. You saw a block laid by number 3, Marcel Aitman. That's one of the things that you really come to appreciate about the wide receivers for Oklahoma State. They don't just catch the football and run after the catch. They block for each other, and they block for the running backs.
Hill swings out. Rudolph puts it on him. And a good open field tackle from McKinley Whitfield, who played safety last year and now is playing what they call their star position.
And they said that was the perfect fit for him because he's so good at making tackles in space and how aggressive he was in the run game. As you watch Oklahoma State, watch Mason Rudolph control the line of scrimmage. You hear kill from time to time. That's a call used to change the play. He's got command of this offense.
On 3rd and 15, they rush only 3. It's dumped off for Hill. He needs the 41, but he's cut down at the 47. By Christian Williams, 4th down.
I love the play design. I mean, a little inside screen, little angle route by the running back. They had Larry Williams, the right guard, Zachary Crabtree working downfield.
And it looks like they will punt.
It looks like their Heisman Trophy candidate is going to come out on the field now.
Zach Seiner. Great personality, this guy. And Mike Gundy said, yes, is throwing his own Heisman campaign. A Heisman candidate in his mind. But legitimately one of the best punters in the country. Fair catch coming, taken at the 11-yard line by Kedrian Wadley. We'll talk a little more about Zach Seiner when we come back to Stillwater. I think he should punt with his helmet off so we can see the Fu Manchu more often. What do you think, Bruce?
Guys, never mind James Washington or Mason Rudolph. Zach Seiner's done a pretty good job of building his own Heisman campaign. He went down to Big 12 Media Days last month. He was sporting that fierce Fu Manchu and passing out Seiner for Heisman pamphlets, and he's even got a website.
That is awesome.
Hey, one other thing also. I said, what's your degree going to be in? He goes, marketing.
Shocker. Love it. Real life experience. Luke Skipper's second drive after Chad President handled the first 2. Redshirt freshman from Forney, Texas. Off play action. Wants to go deep. Justin Hobbs at midfield. Can't pull it in, but a flag down.
A little tugging going on with Madre Harper on the outside. And one of the things as a inexperienced cornerback where they want to test you, some double moves. And that's what that was there with Justin Hobbs.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 25. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
Now watch at the top of your screen. He kind of cuts inward almost like he's running a post. Then he hits the seam and goes vertical. And those are the sort of catches that I think Philip Montgomery's really hoping that Justin Hobbs can bring in. It's obviously tough with the defender holding your arm. He's got a lot of confidence in Hobbs. And that was a guy he talked a lot about during our production meeting.
He's the guy now with the departures of their top 2 receivers last year. Here's Keenan Johnson trying to get away. Ramon Richards brings him down after 4. 2nd and 6.
I think that's the toughest part when you have a system that you utilize and you see players have success. You got to have faith that guys are going to step into those positions and really step up when the lights turn on.
Brewer got drilled by Chad Whitener. All Big 12 linebacker. Stops him on a gain of 2. It'll be 3rd and 4.
Guy's a tackling machine. He's every bit of 245 pounds. 6 feet tall. And you got to love the fact that he's kind of got that neck roll. It's that old school linebacker look. Reminds me of Brian Bosworth.
Now we just need him to roll the shirt up some, show the abs. To really throw it back, Chad. Pressure coming on 3rd down as speed out sails through the hands of Keenan Johnson with a coverage from Richards and 4th down.
That's what makes this defense so effective too, is when you've got a guy like Ramon Richards who can play the safety position but still come down into the slot and match up in man-to-man coverage. Typically safeties aren't good in man-to-man coverage versus wide receivers, but because of Richards' past playing cornerback and be able to match up, it's incredibly effective. Allows defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer to do a variety of things.
Busy first half for Thomas Bennett. McCluskey will let it bounce and now run it down inside his own 5. He is dropped. The ball comes out. There's no signal yet, and now they say touchdown. They have ruled it a touchdown, saying that he was never down, and it was recovered in the end zone by Tulsa. It's a touchdown.
Well, first coaching point here, let the football go. This is not going to be a good return. May not meet many coaching points, but yeah, clearly that football is out. On his way backward into the end zone, no part of his body, I do not believe, was down. This will be a much better look.
Yeah, definitely out. Forced by Rob Reeder and recovered by the long snapper, Adam Higuera.
How about that, the long snapper with the hustle?
Love it.
Usually the guy you don't always account for, the long snapper. He's there primarily for the long snapping duties. Finds himself making a big play and trying to change the momentum in this game for Tulsa.
Boy, did they need it or what?
And how about that, getting points based off special teams and not this prolific offense that we've seen from Philip Montgomery in the past.
Bedford Jones hooks the extra point through. Tulsa's on the board, and the long snapper is to take credit. Adam Higuera with a moment of glory here for the Golden Hurricane in a 21-7 game. We're going to bring in Mike Pereira in Los Angeles. And Mike, very clearly the ball was out. I guess the only question was his forward progress stopped?
Certainly, in my opinion, his forward progress was stopped. But here's the thing. In replay, you cannot create forward progress. So even though you can clearly see it here that the ball, that his progress was stopped, it came out as he was being driven backward. No whistle was blown. But replay's got to let that stand, because forward progress, if it's not ruled, you can't put it on in replay.
All right, Mike. Well, we appreciate that. And Tulsa's happy that that's the rule. It's got them on the board. And in a game that looked like it was getting away from them, reason to believe again.
And always tough for any official when they're out there in real time to be able to make that determination of whether or not his forward progress has stopped. Maybe that's something that they'll look to potentially change for replay in the future, be able to help out as we continue to look for ways to improve the officiating down on the field, because it is such a difficult job to real time be able to make every single call right. Got good TV angle, good camera angles now to be able to pick that stuff up.
So in a 21-7 game, J.D. King in there running back. Rudolph fakes it to him and gets it to Dylan Stoner, who's crunched after 4. Stoner, a redshirt freshman from Jenks High School in Tulsa, and they say as a redshirt freshman already developing into a bit of a leader for him.
The guy leading the block was Britton Abbott, Cowboy tight end we talked about. They're trying to find out who's in that role this year. It's going to be Abbott.
Downhill comes King with a big hole. He's in the free. And on J.D. King's second career carry, he takes it to the house from 72.
And because of the quick screen to the outside on the last play by Dylan Stoner, look at all that room in the middle of the defense. Parts like the Red Sea, and J.D. King does the rest. The true freshman out of Pittsfield, Georgia. Like to Mike Gundy, he said he played a lot of good football down there in Georgia. He felt very confident in his ability as a true freshman, much like Justice Hill a year ago, to be able to come in and give us some meaningful reps. That was a pretty meaningful rep there.
I'd say so. And Amendola makes it 28-7. So much for any momentum that Tulsa developed from getting that fumble in the end zone. J.D. King, the third touchdown of the day from Oklahoma State of at least 40 yards. How about this offense? Mike Gundy's Cowboys averaging better than 12 yards per play so far, and a 28-7 lead early in the second quarter. Lone touchdown for Tulsa came on special teams and a fumble recovery. We'll start this drive from the 25. Well, a year ago, Oklahoma State got off to a 2-2 start with that horrible loss to Central Michigan, the controversial loss, but then found themselves went 8-1, which almost made the Central Michigan loss hurt that much more, kind of salt in the wound, because they were left thinking, what if?
And I think every year you always have to find your identity as a team. Even when you have continuity and players coming back, you're always adding in new pieces. There's always guys who depart. You kind of have to change your scheme to fit the personnel that you have. And that's why I think in this game, what we've seen more, at least offensively, even with all the guys returning, is more full wide receiver sets, kind of spreading it out a little bit more, something that was a little different with more two tight end sets last year.
Jen President back in for the first time since the second possession, and Jarrell Owens for the second time gets his hand in a pass.
Talking to the defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer, just talked about these guys up front, how hard they work. Kind of thought there might be a chance to have a little bit of a drop off with guys like Vincent Taylor and Miley moving on, but so far we haven't seen it.
Into the short side, right on the numbers for Hobbs. And he charges forward for 7 or 8. It'll be 3rd and short. Glenn Spencer's up there. 10th year in the program, 5th year as the DC. Moved upstairs after the loss to Baylor early last year. First time he'd been up there in a long time, but is stuck there. On 3rd down, nice cut from Brewer to move the chains.
Brewer's one of those running backs, I think, in this system that really fits his skill set. On some of those zone reads from time to time, and it allows him to be able to set up the blocks and really make those backside cuts that help you push forward to get the first down.
President pumps, and now to the sideline. It's dropped by Hobbs.
So that was almost a triple move route. Kind of hesitated, almost like he was going to run a hitch, and then pushed forward, and then came back almost like it was a stop route. I mean, they're really trying to play games with these young cornerbacks. for Oklahoma State, in particular A.J. Green on that last play.
Seems like they're doing a pretty good job so far, though. Green and Williams and these young DBs.
Well, Hobbs fell down a little bit, too. Coming out of the second cut, so yeah, you got a little help.
On second down, it's Chad Whitener with a tackle on Brewer. 3rd and 6. Near the midway point of this second quarter.
Seems like when Chad President has been in the game, Glenn Spencer's pressured a little bit more. In that last play, we've got a corner blitz from the boundary, the short side of the field. He's blitzed them before on 3rd down as we see them make a wholesale change to their defensive front. Tends to get a little bit more aggressive when teams get to the middle of the field.
On one occasion on a 3rd down and long earlier, he brought pressure, and President was able to beat him with a 16-yard run. Here it's a perfect call for it, and Brewer's got a 1st down into Oklahoma State territory.
And that is how you beat pressure. When you've got a running back like D'Angelo Brewer, who can get out in open space and make a guy like Calvin Bundage miss and pick up the 1st down, that's huge.
Back to the ground, it's Brewer, run down from behind by DeQuinton Osborne.
And it makes you hesitate as a defensive coordinator to being pressure. When you've got a quarterback in there who can see it and who can execute and pick up the 1st down.
Five blockers on 5 men in the box, but it's a pass, and over the middle it's open for Hobbs. Justin Hobbs beating A.J. Green for a 1st down pickup of 18.
That was a nice job of Chad President working his progression. He started to the left, came all the way back to the right side to find Hobbs for the completion.
Brewer stopped in the hole by Whitener. He's racking up the tackles in this 1st half.
Take a look at that last play. Look at his eyes, working to the left, stays calm in the pocket, doesn't take off, comes back to the right side to find Hobbs for the big completion. Obviously, not a ton of experience, but a little bit. It's kind of showing so far.
Sophomore in his 1st career start. This one goes to the sideline, and it's off target. Keenan Johnson can't pull it in. 3rd down.
Talking to Philip Montgomery about the pros and cons of more spread formations, he said, well, it makes those out-breaking routes that much harder to complete because it's a longer throw, and you've really got to have a strong arm quarterback to make those throws on a consistent basis. You can see that ball is a little bit short to Keenan Johnson on the outside.
Play hockey line changes with this Oklahoma State defense right now. A lot of fresh bodies out there for 3rd and 10, and President has room on a quarterback draw for a 1st down. On a gain of 12, it keeps the drive alive.
Oh, that'll make you honest. I mean, look at the pressure coming off the left side of your screen from Oklahoma State. It creates that opening for Chad President. Well, Philip Montgomery is very familiar with Glenn Spencer and his pressures in that from his time at Baylor.
Here's Corey Taylor, steps to the outside, stays on his feet, and sticks the shoulder down for 7 or 8. Sophomore from Tulsa's Holland Hall High School, sharing carries with Brewer. 2nd and short.
This is that area where you might see the quarterback keep at some point, as well as their tight end Chris Minner, number 6, in the play-action pass game.
3 of his 6 catches a year ago went for touchdowns. Love him in this area. It's Taylor again, like a bowling ball downhill for a touchdown. Impressive response for the Golden Hurricane to get back to within 2 scores.
Confidence. This team just needed some confidence, and it actually came via a special teams play to start getting them that momentum to get back into the game. As you watch Corey Taylor really just push with that surge from his offensive line, but just gets his shoulders low and drives into the end zone for the score.
First offensive touchdown of the night for Tulsa.
And credit Chad President for the big completion to help get them down into that area.
Part of a 13-play, 75-yard drive and a 28-14 score.
Coming up on the State Farm halftime, highlights of J.T. Barrett and the #2 ranked Buckeyes who kick off the season at Indiana. And the Lincoln Riley era at Oklahoma begins Saturday. His interview with Joel Klatt. Back out to you, Joe. Brady.
All right, Rob. Brady, you want to go down to Norman?
I think we should make the trip. We're pretty close.
Might as well. Top of the car and head down there when this one ends. Redford Jones to kick it after the first offensive touchdown of the night for Tulsa. A short kick. Tyron Johnson takes it from the 4. And Johnson, who already has a receiving touchdown in his first game as a Cowboy, now has a solid return to the 33. So in a 28-14 game, Oklahoma State's offense back out, and this Tulsa defense with a stop can really start feeling good about where they're at going into the break.
Well, it starts on having better success on first down if you're Tulsa's defense, because they have not been able to stop the Oklahoma State offense at all tonight, with the exception of maybe one drive. But even then, they are struggling to get stops on first and second down, which puts Oklahoma State in third and management.
Already 308 yards against them, more than 12 yards per play. One of the best offenses in the country, you figured, coming in, and they've not disappointed over the first half. Got one-on-one with James Washington to the wide side of the field. Instead, they run in that direction, and Hill gets just a yard. Colton Schindler with a stop. 2nd and 9.
Oklahoma State offensive line not getting a ton of push. The Tulsa defensive line kind of holding their own.
Hill again. This time a little bit of a hole opens, and he pops through it for 7. So it'll be 3rd and short. And that group you're talking about, it has not been a strength for Oklahoma State in recent seasons. They're hoping that this group is better.
And you see the left tackle, Aaron Cochran's got experience, but like Gundy said, he's still assimilating into this offense, into this system, and adjusting to Oklahoma State's style.
Back-to-back runs on 3rd down and 1. They'll run it again with Hill. He's got the edge. He's got a 1st down and more, and Justice Hill is inside the 30. Needed 1, got 32.
Watch the right of your screen. Look at all the running room. And that was really started by the right side of the offensive line. Right guard Larry Williams, right tackle Zachary Crabtree. Those guys helped set the edge and really paved the way for Justice Hill in the big game.
J.D. King replaces him after carrying a heavy load over the first few plays of this drive. From the 24, Rudolph's first pass of the drive. Jalen McCluskey can't get it. Coverage Reggie Robinson. No flag, 2nd down.
Let's take a look. Reggie Robinson, what defensive coordinator Bill Young thinks is their best cornerback. He turns back to look for the football and make a play on it. And I know there's a lot of contact, but I think had he not looked back, maybe there's a flag. Because he did, I think that's why maybe the official didn't.
Robinson, a guy they think has a lot of upside. Sophomore from Texas. Tyron Johnson swings out. In open space, this is where he is deadly. He's got blockers in front. Mason Rudolph gives him one for a 1st down. Kind of gave him one.
I don't know who got the better of that block. It looked like Jordan Mitchell kind of took out Mason Rudolph as opposed to Mason Rudolph taking him out. Check out #2 right here. Jordan Mitchell chopping down the quarterback. Come on, man.
Got the job done, though. Eliminated a defender. Into the short side. Stoner's got a short game.
The key is just getting in the way. I mean, no one expects you to actually do a whole lot. So if you actually just account for one person and keep him from tackling the running back or wide receiver, everyone should be happy.
And so if you get blocked yourself,
yeah,
sure,
it works.
We'll take it.
Take one for the team. By the way, last year Mason Rudolph in the red zone, 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception.
Best touchdown to interception ratio overall last year in the country. They're going to change on 2nd and 7. Calls a run play for King. J.B. King sticks his nose down, 3rd down.
This is that part where, you know, they don't have to necessarily throw the football. because of Mason Rudolph's athletic ability, there's from time to time you'll see him keep the football in some of these zone read schemes.
Scared it once tonight.
Now with the 4 wide receiver set, that might be another story because they're going to have one-on-one matchups on the outside.
Got it with Aitman to the bottom of the screen. Again, the call comes from Rudolph. On 3rd down, it's back shoulder. Marcel Aitman has it knocked away by Reggie Robinson.
And that's just great coverage by Reggie Robinson. Here's the matchup that Mason Rudolph wanted. Elected for the back shoulder fade, even though Aitman beat his man. Typically, you'd like to throw it to the back pylon, but good ball placement by Mason Rudolph. You'd like to see Aitman be able to bring that in. But kudos to Reggie Robinson. Good play.
And so Matt Amendola out for the field goal, replacing the all-time leading scorer here at Oklahoma State, Ben Grogan. From 24 yards, it's right down the middle. And Oklahoma State with a 31-14 lead. Losing Mike Gundy and his wonderful mullet, one of the greatest, I think, in sports history.
You'd have to consider it up there, and especially in the Big 12. There's been some other names.
But across all of sports, how about Jaromir Jagr's mullet in the middle? What's your favorite of this group?
I mean, because we're here in Stillwater, maybe Brian Bosworth. I mean,
I would say
went along with it.
I would say you don't go with that one since we're in Stillwater. They're not going to like that.
Yeah, good point. But just keep it within the Big 12. But
sure.
Look at Andre Agassi. Even in tennis, more of a proper sport.
It's a pretty good hair there. It's a lot of good hair here.
About a good lettuce. The kids are calling it these days.
Is it?
Yeah, lettuce
these days. Huh. I thought that was an older term.
Is it?
Maybe it's come back. Retro. That is a touchback. Oh, what? Yours is sweet. Mine just looks like I got out of bed and haven't got a haircut in a while.
I actually think that might be my real hair. I don't think there's any editing done to that.
You went there at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I did have my hair a little bit longer in the back, draft day. Looked like a flow bucket, but I think it ended up coming out more like a mullet sometimes.
Bruce could pull it off. He's got the attitude for it.
I think he actually did once have a mullet. I don't know if that was the exact photo, but at one point Bruce Feldman had a mullet. And you know,
hey fellas, unlike you guys, I'm in my 40s. You didn't need Photoshop. You could have just looked for my high school yearbook picture.
And fit in just fine, right? You wouldn't have stood out. We wouldn't have done any kind of piece on you. We would have done the piece on the guys with the clean cut looks. Drive beginning from the 25 and going backwards to start. A loss of 2 for Brewer.
Yeah, guys, the marketing ability of Mike Gundy. I mean, this thing last year, it kind of took on a life of its own, and they cashed in. Oklahoma State got a ton of added visibility. It became Gundy's thing. He had fun with it. His players had fun with it. It was kind of a persona. And look, the rattlesnake hunter now, I think Mike Gundy has definitely found his inner being in his 50s.
And 2nd down on the out, it's a completion to Nigel Carter, his first catch. You've got to own it if you're going to go with a style like that. Mike has owned it.
That's fun to it, too. You got high expectations for your team. And every day you get to come to a team meeting and look at your head coach with a mullet. He's got to put a smile on your face.
They're down in 4 for the Golden Hurricane.
Look at Chad President back at quarterback, kind of getting into a rhythm. Nice completion on that last throw. It's going to be tested here on 3rd down.
Seen him run for a couple of first downs so far. On this 3rd and 4, he throws underneath. It's broken up and incomplete. Trey Flowers, the most experienced player on this defense, bolted after it and makes it 4th down.
Interesting play call, kind of a pick route. You'll see number 31 reads it right away. Typically you use these rub routes when both cornerbacks or both defensive backs are up in press coverage. Then you can get that natural rub between the two receivers. But in that case, he was off. Trey Flowers read it perfectly.
It's a good player.
He's a very good player. And he's a guy who, he's going to be aggressive in the run game. He'll come up and hit you, but he's also got good vision. He demonstrated right there.
So now Oklahoma State set to get it with pretty good field position and plenty of time on the clock. Fair catch taken by Jalen McCleskey at the 23.
Probably wise. Last time he was running backwards to get a punt. Didn't work out so well.
Yeah, well, he's back into it for Jalen. Halftime coming up. Ohio State on the road and in a dogfight early. And on Saturday down in Norman, Lincoln Riley takes over the reins. It'll be weird seeing somebody other than Bob Stoops patrolling the sidelines in Norman.
Curious to see, too, as Lincoln Riley tries to kind of create his own culture there, how it's going to differentiate from Bob Stoops, because he was so successful during his tenure as head coach at Oklahoma. You know, how can you really deviate from that and create your own identity?
Well, 2:14 left and 2 timeouts for this offense. He boots, he sets, he throws for Washington, who makes the adjustment, and goodbye. Touchdown, Oklahoma State. 77 yards as this big play show continues.
We talked about that connection, the chemistry between Rudolph and Washington. In that case, Washington had his back, because that was not a very well thrown football. Underthrown, but obviously with enough air. And because Washington beat Reggie Robinson so bad, he had the opportunity to come back and catch the football.
The 4th touchdown of at least 40 yards in this first half. The 2nd of at least 70.
Let's take a look at that last touchdown. There's really not a whole lot you can say besides the fact that James Washington has a ton of speed, but Mason Rudolph, he gets a good fake, gets his eyes around, and he tries to throw it down there as far as he can. James Washington is so fast, sometimes as a quarterback, he can outrun you. And here's the tough part. See how he stayed on the outside of Reggie Robinson? He comes back across his body to make this catch, which was a little bit behind. Good concentration by Washington. And if you're a Tulsa fan, you might be asking yourself, why is he one-on-one with Reggie Robinson? A lot of teams devote 2 defensive backs to James Washington. Well, here's why. There's so many other talented wide receivers. You can't cover them all. I mean, someone's going to be one-on-one, and one of these guys is going to make a big play.
And I know Mason Rudolph is a really good deep ball thrower, but what a nice feeling for a quarterback to know that you can just put it out there and a guy like Washington's going to find a way to come down with it.
And again, because it's one-on-one coverage, you know, it's not so much a 50-50 ball, especially with a guy like James Washington where he beats the majority of his defenders, because he's going to be able to come back and make a play on it. And if you don't catch it, it's probably going to be pass interference the majority of the time. So it's because of that one-on-one ability where it allows him the comfort and confidence just to throw it up sometimes.
So 10 quick ones for Oklahoma State. And a touchback here. We check in again with Bruce.
Joe, you guys are talking about 50-50 balls. I asked Mason Rudolph about that, and he said, we call them 70-30 balls because the ball skills James Washington and these guys have, it's something we work on every day. And basically the attitude is, we're better than you. I don't care what coverage you guys are in, press, cover one, it doesn't matter. We're going to make you pay.
This is an incredible athlete, not just a football player, but a guy that did everything in high school. He won a state championship in basketball. He ran track and field. State quarterfinalist in tennis. Played a year of baseball, and he said he would have golfed if the schedule allowed.
You don't hear a lot of football guys playing tennis. I think Josh Rosen's the only other football player I've heard of really playing a lot of tennis.
President begins this drive with a shot to Hobbs, and he's got close to a first down. That was his mom's sport. James Washington was really good in high school, and she talked him into it. And he said that he was happy that he did play tennis because there were some transferable skills to football. Brewer for a first down up to the 44.
Tulsa offense just keeps chugging, keeps pecking away. They're really starting to find a rhythm now.
It's been with President in the game. He lets this one fly. Nowhere close to Hobbs.
And again, that's what happens when you've got a quarterback battle and you don't have a guy in there long enough to really get a feel for his wide receivers and that sort of throw. Hobbs was on the post route. You want to throw more to the middle of the field. And because he got pushed down a little bit by Green, it forced him further inside and the ball into being further outside.
On 2nd and 10, pressure coming. He's able to get rid of it. A little bit dangerously fluttering out there. Kenneth Edison Magruder brought the heat.
The defensive coordinator, Glenn Spencer, he likes to heat it up on this mid part of the field. You'll see the pressure coming from the left side. And he wants to get the ball to Brewer quickly in the flat. They're trying to set up a screen. And that's your job as a quarterback, to get rid of the football. You cannot take a sack, cannot take a negative play. As we see, there's a flag, probably for intentional grounding.
The quarterback was within the pocket, threw the ball into an area where there were no eligible receivers. Intentional grounding, offense, number 10. That penalty to be enforced in the spot of the foul with a loss of down, 3rd down.
Now, I thought there was an eligible wide receiver over in the direction of where he threw the football. If you look to the right side of your screen as he pump fakes, is able to elude Edison Magruder. I guess it was way out of the vicinity. I mean, there's a guy over there, just wasn't that close to him.
It is a loss of down. They shudder around here when they hear about intentional grounding. The Central Michigan game last year.
The irony to that is a game that Oklahoma State lost early in the season at home. And then you go and look at Tulsa's season. They ended up beating Central Michigan
Tulsa
handily in their bowl game, the Miami Beach Bowl. I mean, what, 55-10?
Right. Tulsa takes a timeout. It's first of the half with 1:22. You know, there's been so much talk about that Central Michigan loss last year, and the more they won and kept on winning, the more that this was coming up. But Mason Rudolph called for intentional grounding on 4th down as they tried to finish off a lead on Central Michigan. But an untimed down given to the Chippewas, and Cooper Rush hit Corey Willis. Found his way into the end zone. But that untimed down, by the rule book, even though it seems like it should have happened, by the rule book, it shouldn't have.
And that's something that I think they should look at in the future, because you shouldn't be able to run an illegal play and be able to end the football game. But that's not the rule. So Oklahoma State should have been awarded the win there, because, again, time should have ran out, and that should have been over before Central Michigan ever had a chance to throw up a Hail Mary. Now, the other thing that you could have done is just run a legal play. Either put a wide receiver out there so you're throwing it over his head and a waste of time, or you roll your quarterback outside the pocket. So as much as you would want to see that rule changed, you also just need to run a legal play.
3rd down 21, and an opportunity here for Oklahoma State to get it back and add on to this big lead. It's a draw and won't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Darian Daniels was in there for the tackle on Brewer. And Oklahoma State burns a timeout with 1:15.
Been really impressed with this Oklahoma State defensive line. Talking to Mike Gundy about his defense, about their personnel. Didn't have anyone to maybe the caliber of Emmanuel Ogbah, for example, the 2nd-round pick who went to play for the Cleveland Browns. But he said, we've got a lot of guys that we really like. They know the system. They work hard. They listen to our defensive coordinator, Glenn Spencer, as far as what he asked them to do. And they're going to rotate them in. And they're going to be able to have their plays and have their games. So he felt confident in this group, where maybe that some people are questioning this Oklahoma State defense and whether or not Oklahoma State can compete with Oklahoma for the Big 12 title.
Is it good enough with their aspirations to be bend but don't break, kind of how they were last year, where they give up a lot of yards but then get takeaways and are good in the red zone? Is that good enough to get to where they want to go?
I think if their offense is going to be as prolific as it appears to be early on this season, I think you can get away with that. But ultimately, I think the goal for Oklahoma State isn't just the Big 12. It's trying to get to the college football playoff. If you want to play in the playoff, you've got to be able to play on both sides of the football.
Thomas Bennett to punt again. And McCluskey with an early fair catch, perhaps scared off with that fumble earlier in the game. It's been all Oklahoma State. Mason Rudolph 14 of 17 and 2 long touchdowns for Washington.
Is it fair to say the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the country as far as their ability to connect on the deep ball and be oh so effective with it? We saw it in 2016. We're already seeing it now in 2017. You talk about those big aspirations. You got to have difference makers. Mason Rudolph is the start of that discussion at the quarterback position, then James Washington is it at the wide receiver.
1:08 left in the half. They've got one timeout. And from the 27, they start with a slant that Aitman plucks. They're really excited about what he's going to bring to the table this year after missing all of last season with a foot injury. On second down, Rudolph loads up and lets this one go for Tyron Johnson, and a flag flies. There's one of those one-on-one situations where you say the worst thing might be that a PI is called.
We saw them picking on Kerwin Thomas, number 2, earlier. Now we're seeing them throw at Reggie Robinson, number 9.
Pass interference, defense, number 9. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
As we go back and take a look, watch number 9 as he's trying to keep up with Tyron Johnson. Just too much contact, and I really don't know that he ever was able to come back and make a play on the football. It's partially because he fell, but that's what obstructed Johnson from being able to kind of maybe make a better play on the football. Tell you what, one thing I noticed from Mason Rudolph, though, he's got to get that ball out a little bit sooner. And when you come back for your senior year, that's what the NFL evaluators are looking for.
Buys time with his feet, keeps his eyes downfield, and gets crunched and intercepted. This ball is headed the other way with Patera Wilson. Knocked out from behind by Stoner, but Tulsa's got it inside the 20 on a 30-yard return from the senior from Memphis.
And there's times when you just have to know to go down and take the sack or throw the football away. Rudolph was looking back across the field to Marcel Aitman. That's where Wilson was able to beat Johnny on the spot and pick up the football and put Tulsa now in scoring position. But Mason Rudolph has played too much football to think that he should be throwing all the way back across the field once he got flushed out of the pocket.
Paid the price. Colton Schindler, who is 6'6", 280, absolutely drilled him.
Former tight end, a great athlete. You look at his size and really his ability. You know, he's a player that I think Tulsa feels really good about being on the inside, eating up double teams and getting penetration.
So 33 seconds and 2 timeouts. They go to Brewer, who has no room. Chad Whitener sticks his nose in for a short loss. They use the first of those 2 timeouts with 28 seconds.
This is that area of the field where it gets so tough for offenses to convert versus Oklahoma State. That condensed part of the field where everything happens a little bit faster. Tend to play a little bit more coverage with all the eyes of the quarterback.
We're talking about Philip Montgomery and the offenses he's had. How about this group they had last season? The first team in Division I history, as we mentioned earlier, with a 3,000-yard passer in Evans. 2 1,000-yard rushers. Flanders is gone. Brewer's the only one back out of this group. 2 1,000-yard receivers as well in Lucas and Atkinson.
This is kind of a tryout, if you will, for their wide receivers to see who's going to step up into those positions. So far, Justin Hobbs has kind of looked the part tonight. Brewer obviously is going to be a productive running back, a 1,000-yard rusher last year. But talking to Philip Montgomery, that's one of the things he kind of discussed, was really been excited to see what these guys are capable of doing versus Oklahoma State.
On 2nd and 10, President has time, and underneath he's got a completion to Josh Stewart, redshirt freshman, with his first career catch. Right up for a first down. 19 seconds. Clock stopping for the chains to move.
And that's obviously key in college football because it allows you, if you move fast enough, not to really lose much time on the clock.
Still have that 1 timeout. President scanning the field. Now he takes off, makes a move, and they'll use that last timeout with 2 seconds.
And in this case, you obviously just take the points, take the field goal, go in the halftime with the momentum because you get the ball coming back out of half.
So here comes Redford Jones to attempt the field goal.
Get the sense that this Tulsa offense is starting to find the flow a little bit. Defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer has been pretty aggressive, bringing a decent amount of pressure, and Chad President's been able to have a little bit of wiggle in that pocket.
So this will be a 23-yard attempt for the former walk-on, Redford Jones.
This is where Oklahoma State misses a guy like Vincent Taylor. Had a number of block kicks last year in that defensive front.
4 in one game against Texas. So they're able to take advantage of the second takeaway of this first half, converting those 2 turnovers into 10 points. 38-17 the score at halftime. We now get you to Rob Stone and the guys in LA for the State Farm halftime show.
All right, Joe Brady, thank you. Last season, the Cowboys, they averaged 494 yards of offense a game at the half. In their opener, they are at 486, 4 scorers of over 40 yards, 2 of them over 70 yards. We welcome you to the State Farm FS1 College Football Halftime Show. Rob, Robert, Matt, the coach here with you. Cowboys feeling this is the year they get to their first ever college football playoff. Solid start so far as we showcase, what else? Their offense in the State Farm most valuable possession.
The only blemish right there, that turnover at the end, but with exception to that, they were outstanding. Mason Rudolph right here, great deep throw. We know he throws the deep ball well. I do want to credit the big boys up front. They gave him time, accurate. We talked about it in the pregame show. He's got full command of this offense. And then when you mix it and you combine with a balanced offensive attack, they rushed for over 200 yards in the first half with Justice Hill. This is exactly the start that the Cowboys needed. Much different, Coach, than Tulsa on offense.
Yeah, we talked earlier about all the numbers Tulsa put up a year ago and how well they played. Obviously, they did in both sides of the football. As I look at this first half, I see a lack of, I don't know if it's experience or talent, but there is a definite difference between these 2 football teams. And you know, and the reason I say that, you know, I always looked at it this way. If somebody was wide open down the field, then you got a coaching problem. But on almost every one of these big plays, there was a defender right there in the area, and he either gets out-jumped, the guy makes a great catch, he falls down, and that's just ability. I mean, that's just talent, not having enough playmakers, and that's kind of what I see on, you know, when your longest run is 9 yards and your longest pass is under 20, which Tulsa has on offense, I mean, you're not making nearly enough big plays to outscore a team like Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and really, they've had their opportunities. And talking about Oklahoma State long-term, and, Coach, as you mentioned, they're going to need to get better defensively to have any legitimate shot to make the playoffs and to win a national championship. Way too much time for Tulsa in this first half. Gone is Vincent Taylor. Gone is Emmanuel Ogba off that defensive line. There's really nobody with any suddenness, and they're not able to generate any pressure. We know that this Oklahoma State team on defense, 4 out of the last 5 years, they have done a really good job, top 10 in turnover margin. They're not going to be able to generate turnovers if they give quarterbacks that much time. And we know the way they throw it in the Big 12, they're going to have trouble winning the Big 12 at all if they can't get after quarterbacks.
You know, you better have a program with you, because every time somebody catches a pass from Oklahoma State, it's somebody different, right? I mean, it's there are a lot of guys that can make plays.
10 of Tulsa's points off of turnovers.
Let's go. Straight up the top, so you know ain't no stopping us. Yeah, I see you been watching us. You can try, but you better off. I ain't a spectate from the audience. Why you hating from the bleachers? Cheerleaders is loving us. Grab a pom-pom, baby. You gotta want it. You know my team want it. You know my team want it. You ain't no stopping us. Nah, ain't no stopping us. Nah, ain't no stopping us. You gotta want it. You know my team.
As advertised so far from that Oklahoma State offense, 139 of Mason Rudolph's 276 have gone to James Washington, and Oklahoma State leads Tulsa 38-17. Get you ready for this second half, Joe and Brady and Bruce in just a bit. What do you think so far?
So far, I think both teams have done some good things. You look at Tulsa, that second quarter, big second quarter for them, 17 points, all the points they've scored in this game. I think they're starting to find a rhythm on offense. on defense, starting to get some pressure on Mason Rudolph. So I think if you're Oklahoma State, you want to see him take care of the football better. For Tulsa, you'd like to see him continue to kind of build momentum.
And they'll have a chance right away here, getting the ball to begin the second half. Two teams coming off 10-win seasons, Tulsa and 10th-ranked Oklahoma State.
You mentioned the 10 points off of the 2 Oklahoma State turnovers. Tulsa was one of the top teams in the country last year, getting points off of turnovers.
And a touchback to open half number 2. You're talking about the turnovers keeping Tulsa in the game. Without those, I mean, this is a complete blowout at this point.
And both ultimately were poor decisions. One by Jalen McCleskey, just let the football go on the punt. And then in the case of Mason Rudolph, he was really just trying to do too much. Look at him looking back across the field, even though he just got pushed outside the pocket. Ends up fumbling, which ends up leading to Tulsa points. So in this case, you go see how good Tulsa was last year with points off turnovers. But we talked about a key for Tulsa was playing a clean game. For Oklahoma State, they need to clean up the second half.
Chad President had the most momentum in that first half, sharing time with Luke Skipper. He really started to get it going in the second quarter. Second half begins out of an empty set with a quick throw for a completion up 7 yards down to Bruce.
Joe, I talked to Philip Montgomery. I said, how do you slow these guys down? He said, the explosive plays are just killing us. We've actually been in pretty good position, but we got to compete. We got to bow our neck and compete and make some plays on the ball.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns of at least 40 yards in that first half. They gave him 8, so 2nd and 2. Fake the Brewer quickly outside Josh Stewart, and he's met right where he caught it by A.J. Green. So 3rd and short.
I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed with the sophomore A.J. Green. Talking to some of the folks here at Oklahoma State, that they're looking at him as one of those guys that can potentially play at the next level. He's got the size, he's got the ability, and then the instincts as well.
Really throughout that position group, all new guys, but they really like the raw ability, the size, and the athleticism. On 3rd and short, Brewers got a first down.
Watch this Tulsa offense. They seem to be getting more and more comfortable. Not necessarily getting the big gains that may come eventually, but just pecking away at the run game. Easy completions to the outside. Keep them within 3rd and manageable.
On 1st and 10, it's Brewer again. Good penetration from that defensive front. Both Jordan Brailford and DeQuinton Osborne were there for the tackle.
Number 91, DeQuinton Osborne's got a lot of expectations this year. Like Gundy said, he's the guy they're looking at to kind of replace Vincent Taylor. Those are big shoes to fill.
Big feet to fill them. Osborne over 300 pounds. Thrown out of bounds. It'll be 3rd down. Pressure from Chad Whitener. 3rd and 10 for Tulsa. This is the first drive of the second half.
Saw a lot more pressure when Chad President was at quarterback in the first half, in particular on 3rd down, 3rd and long. Looks like they're going to play more coverage here.
And he burnt him on more than one occasion, taken off when they brought heat on 3rd down.
That's the problem, too, when you don't bring pressure, is you still open up running lanes. They don't have anyone inside the box. I mean, look at that middle portion of the field. No one in there to account for the quarterback.
President with a straight drop. Time to scan the field. Lets it go, and an opening man in a window. He's got a first down to Caden Johnson. Flags fly as he crosses the 30. Trey Flowers with a tackle after a gain of 34, but we'll see what the flag is.
What a job by President, keeping his eyes downfield, not getting flustered, getting flushed out of the pocket a little bit for the big completion.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 4. 10-yard penalty. Still, it'll be first down.
So they do get the first down, but the flag comes after on Brewer.
And here's Brewer on the inside. You're going to see number 8, Keenan Johnson, come back to the football. Brewer right here hits Chad Whitener, number 45.
Easy call.
just unnecessary. Just got a big gain. Let it go.
Well, instead of being up around the 30, they've got it at the Oklahoma State 49.
By the way, how many times do you see a running back split out a wide receiver stretching the field like that? I mean, that was Brewer clearing things out for Keenan Johnson to come back to the football. Got to be versatile when you play in a Philip Montgomery system.
3rd year as the head coach here at Tulsa. 6 wins year 1, 10 wins last year, having to replace so much on offense this year. Brewer trying to make up some of the yardage lost on his penalty, but he's tugged down by Enoch Smith. Yet another piece of this defensive front. We're talking about Philip Montgomery. The year before he came in, they won 2 games. So from 2 wins to 6 to that 10-3 2016 with a blowout win in the Miami Beach Bowl. And he's become a hot commodity across college football.
And Tulsa fans may hate to hear that, but looking at his track record and success, it's the reality.
Pressure's picked up with the ball thrown behind Johnson, and it's 3rd down. He's got an extension that he signed this winter through 2022, but as we see time and again, there are ways out of those contracts.
Last 3rd down, Chad President makes the big play, keeping his eyes downfield, finds Keenan Johnson. Seems like they started to target Keenan Johnson more too as the games wore on.
Johnson in motion here. The 3 to the wide side of the field, comes back to the short side. Hobbs has a step, can't pull it in. Off his fingertips with Rodarius Williams chasing, and it's 4th down.
Those are the plays you have to make. A well-thrown ball by Chad President. Obviously trying to stretch Justin Hobbs as far as he could, and he had a step. Now with Hobbs' height, you might say, why not throw up a ball that's more catchable, allow him to come back and make a play on the football. Maybe there's a pass interference. They got to expect Hobbs to make that sort of catch. That's something they had a year ago in Lucas and Atkinson. And someone's got to fill that void this year.
I always love the DB celebration after he was totally burned. Rodarius Williams saying, not up in here. That bounces into the end zone for a touchback. Oklahoma State, Mason Rudolph, a fantastic first half. Back out there for the second after this. How about Mason Rudolph so far, Brady?
We got to be tough in the pocket. That's Garrett Flannery actually just tattooing Mason Rudolph. But he gets off the throw, accurate enough to the outside that allows Tyron Johnson to make the big play and the touchdown. And then whenever he sees an opportunity downfield, he seizes that opportunity. He sees Jordan Mitchell, the safety. He bites up on Jalen McCleskey on the in route. And there's the post route. Back in behind, James Washington for 6.
How about those numbers? Mason Rudolph starting what he and Oklahoma State hopes is a Heisman campaign here in his senior year. He's just so in command of everything. He emulates his prep after Peyton Manning. You see some of that, taking control at the line of scrimmage. Hands it off to Justice Hill for 9 yards. He's passed his head coach on the all-time leaderboard here at Oklahoma State in touchdown passes with his 3 tonight.
He's got a shot to own every record on his way out of Oklahoma State when it's all said and done.
Hill again, bounce into the outside for a first down.
Gosh, the patience of Justice Hill. He ran downhill, pressed the hole, sucked the defenders up, and then jump cut to the outside to pick up the first down.
Quickly outside Marcel Aitman. A flag is down as he stiff arms his way to the 42. A little block from Dylan Stoner, perhaps drawing a flag.
Yeah, and that might be one of the rules they're trying to emphasize this year. They felt like Jordan Mitchell was away from the play. Can't go low on a defender like that.
Illegal block below the waist. Offense, number 17. Illegal crackback block. 15-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
So there's Dylan Stoner, number 17. Watch him as Aitman catches the football. See how he goes low on Jordan Mitchell. Now, you could make the case that, you know, the ball's kind of coming that way. Maybe the defender could see him, but they're trying to do it for the sake of protection for players and safety.
Moves him way back, first and a quarter of the field, so a deep drop and a screen. Hill waits for the blocks to develop, then accelerates forward for 6 or 7. Craig Suits makes the tackle on Hill. He's from Tulsa. Won a 5-man battle for the job last year. Said the staff didn't take long to realize what they had in him. Very competent kid. So the intangibles there. And boy, does he flash once he gets on the field. Second down and 14. Hill on the ground this time. Pushes his way for close to a first down. He's got enough.
With the big boys up front for the Oklahoma State offensive line. Center Brad London Blade. At the right guard Larry Williams, right tackle Zachary Crabtree. I mean, they really just moved the line of scrimmage and paved the way for Hill.
Rudolph now, Washington's for 7 yards. It'll be 2nd and 3. What have you thought of the O-line overall tonight? Because we know about the skill players, but how about the guys up front?
For the most part, they've been pretty solid. Now, there's been some instances where they've given up some pressure here and there, and they'll continue to grow and progress.
McCleskey gets blown up, lost a couple.
And look, this is a group that they got a grad transfer at left tackle. They returned 3 starters. But a guy like Larry Williams at right guard, he's still trying to kind of develop that chemistry with everyone else up in front. It's a very, very unique position to be in. Communication is vital. Passing off the different games between the different rushes that a defense gives you takes time. And I think this offensive line will only get better as the season goes on.
You're hoping for the first time in a long time that it's not a weakness. Under the flag flies. Right tackle Zachary Crabtree.
False start. Offense. Number 60. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Is he trying to praise a group? And
well, Craig Suits was about ready to blitz off of the edge. I think that just made Zach Crabtree a little antsy in his stance because he knows he's responsible for him. He's going to have to kick out to get him.
That makes it 3rd down and 11. Tulsa drops 8 into coverage. Rudolph zips one. Aitman's got it, 1st down. And he bunched with a tackle on a gain of 11 to keep the drive alive.
Just so listeners understand, as we take a look at Marcel Aitman, number 3 at the bottom of your screen, they call these stick routes because on 3rd down, you're going to try to sit it down and find that void in the zone defense around the sticks to get the completion and the 1st down.
Look at that. You've got Aitman, Washington, Stoner all out, and they're still terrifying to try and defend.
The guy I'm waiting to see is Chris Lacey. Had a big year last year, number 15. I'm curious to see when he gets involved.
To the bottom of the screen. Huge hole for Justice Hill and a 1st down run inside the 35.
They're having a lot of success on the right side of that offensive line right now. Kind of having their way with Shamar Robinson and Jesse Brubaker.
Hill over 130 yards on the ground here in game 1. Rudolph pumps short. Now flushed out of the pocket. Floats one. Here is Lacey, but it's way behind him. And it's 2nd down.
That's just one of the plays that, you know, Mason Rudolph has a lot of great qualities. You know, he's not going to be able to make that same throw. There's another quarterback in Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. He can maybe make that throw, but running to your left, having to torque your body. You saw a guy like Patrick Mahomes last year do it. It's difficult for any quarterback to do it, but not really within his game.
What a great year to be a football fan in Oklahoma. The flag flies here. False start coming. 2 teams with legitimate playoff hopes. 2 teams with legitimate Heisman contenders.
Offense, number 15. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Bedlam going to be any fun this year?
Oh, I can't wait. I really can't. And I think you look at the Big 12 as a whole, there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of parity. I mean, Kansas State's going to be good. I think Texas will come back under Tom Herman. Baylor's going to be somewhere in there. TCU, you can go down the line. They got 5 teams ranked in the preseason top 25. There's a lot of parity.
And you've got TCU right on the fringes of it, 26th receiving votes. Second down and long. Rudolph moves the defense with his eyes and comes back to Aitman. And Marcel Aitman dropped by McKinley Whitfield.
To your point, what I loved about it was he progressed. You know, he didn't see anything on James Washington's side. They devoted 2 defenders to him. Made his way all the way back across the field to Aitman.
A third down and long. Steps up in the pocket. Lets it go. Incomplete. And a flag. Looked like he maybe wrapped that arm around Dylan Stoner. And it draws the penalty flag, presumably to extend this drive.
Take another look. It looked like he might have been holding Stoner's jersey.
Pass interference. Defense, number 6. The penalty enforced at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
It's Diamond Cannon. Clearly you can see his left hand on the hip of Dylan Stoner. Good job by the officials catching it. A lot of times, that's what they teach at DB. Sometimes those guys get away with it when they grab him by the hip like that.
It's no consolation for him now, but he still has an awesome name. Diamond Cannon.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Fresh set of downs from the 20. Oklahoma State working with a different tempo here in the second half. J.D. King, freshman's already got a long touchdown run. He bullies his way for 5, and on 4 carries has 81 yards.
I love the fact, too, that he's starting to get a feel for the offense. You know, that play was designed to kind of start right, cut back to the left. Britton Abbott, the fullback, leading the way that time for him. But you can tell, early on in his career, they saw this in Justice Hill last year. They're seeing it now with J.D. King.
Working out of this diamond formation on the 12th play of the drive. It's a draw play. It's King again. Bounces off contact. Surges forward for a gain of 8, and it's 1st and goal.
That's just old school football right there. 3 yards and a cloud of dust. This is a formation that Oklahoma State's utilized through the years under Mike Gundy. It's a balanced attack. It makes the defense have to show you their hand whichever way they're setting their front, and they're looking at the offense as the strength. So you get to run to whichever side you want and really the angle that you want.
10 yards per carry so far. Knocking on the door of another score. King lowers the shoulder and gets to the 1. Robert Rebels and Manny Bunch combining to stop him, and it took 2 of them. Rudolph under center. He'll sneak it. He'll get in. Touchdown, Oklahoma State. Not going to be denied on that one. 3 through the air and 1 on the ground for Rudolph tonight.
You don't see too many quarterback sneaks that start up the middle like that and end all the way almost near the sideline.
Yeah. Got it inside the pylon on a quarterback sneak.
He found a way, and again, he's trusting that right side of the offensive line. I mean, Zachary Crabtree has been an Iron Man for them at the right tackle. Started 34 games in his career, so of course he found his way to the upperclassmen that he trusts the most.
Matt Amendola caps off a 14-play, 80-yard drive. And on the season's first night, Oklahoma State's offense as advertised. 543 yards and still a long ways to go. FS1 College Football is sponsored by Dr. Pepper, the one fans crave. Back here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Town of close to 50,000 people. And it has been buzzing this week. They are so excited about this Oklahoma State team that with this 14-play, 80-yard drive now leads 45-17. And I got a feeling that guy's going to be jacked by the end of the year. Push up a point. Bishop Louis. Leveled at the 16. Chance Cook with a special team stop for Oklahoma State. Just On Saturday, college football continues on Fox. UTEP heads to Norman to take on 7th-ranked Oklahoma. The beginning of the Lincoln Riley era. Miners and Sooners at 3 Eastern on Fox. We're headed down there and excited to see what the Sooners look like. A different guy roaming the sideline.
Baker Mayfield, quarterback at Oklahoma, absolutely electric. But the question is, who's going to step up for Dede Westbrook and Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon? A lot of talent moved on to the NFL.
Going to be great up front. They got a Heisman contender at quarterback. But you're right. Question marks across the board as far as the skill spots. Corey Taylor with a short gain on first down.
And question marks, I think, are rightfully so. Because of the production of Dede Westbrook, in particular in the passing game. They've got Mark Andrews coming back, and he's an interesting option. It's kind of a tight end who can split out wide. But outside of that, they've really got to answer some questions before they start getting into their Week 2 game versus Ohio State, which will be a very, very tough test.
One of the guys to look out for, a true freshman named C.D. Lamb, who is looking at stepping into his starting role.
Dede to C.D., huh?
Chad President unloads this one. A deep ball into one-on-one coverage. It's brought in. What a catch by Keenan Johnson. 42 yards as the sophomore fought through more to catch it.
Look at the eyes and the concentration as he brings it back to his shoulder. That's why you would do all those bicep curls.
That's why you're doing those?
I think that's why Keenan Johnson's doing those. But Drell Morrow in good position, but couldn't find the football, and it's easy to see why he couldn't.
It's a flag back at the line of scrimmage.
An eligible receiver downfield, number 6, was covered up by an outside receiver, making him ineligible. That's a 5-yard penalty, and we'll replay second down.
So it was a formational issue. The tight end Chris Minter was ineligible, having been covered up. Wipes away one of the big plays of the night for Tulsa.
So see right here, this is the tight end, Minter, but the slot is the guy who's covering him up. He's got to be off the ball, so he's not covering up Minter, and that would then make Minter eligible so he can release downfield. And that's just it's a communication thing, you know, and clearly your wide receivers got to be the one to kind of fix that.
So Johnson makes a great play, but somewhat responsible for it being nullified. Instead of first down inside the Oklahoma State 40, back inside their own 20. On 2nd and 12. Kenneth Edison Magruder stopping Corey Taylor, 3rd down.
There was no one responsible for him. I mean, Edison Magruder had a free shot at Taylor, and that's where you kind of look at this offensive line and the battle they've been in with the defensive tackles and the defensive ends for Oklahoma State. They've done a good job of getting penetration, eating them up, so the linebackers for Oklahoma State can roam free.
Third down and 9 for Tulsa. Brewer motions out, so an empty set and a ton of room in the middle of the field. Hobbs needs to make one-man miss and does for a first down across the 40.
I love it. Well-executed play. Chad President identifies the pressure. You'll see it right there at the top of your screen. Hobbs sees it as well. He breaks off his route, makes the catch, turns upfield to get more yards.
And a rare missed tackle from Trey Flowers leads to 23 yards. This play is blown up. The Quentin Osborne having a nice night inside.
Flashes of Vincent Taylor. I'm telling you, this guy is a player to watch. He gets penetration in the run game. He's explosive and quick off the ball. Talking to Philip Montgomery, you know, the offensive line was one of the positions he felt confident about in this matchup.
President under pressure. That ball should have been intercepted by Edison Magruder. Instead, 3rd down.
Right up the gut. Chad President really didn't have anywhere to go with the football. Tried to get out, tried to anticipate. He's very fortunate this wasn't picked off by Edison Magruder. That would have been 1-6 the other way.
Had a couple of those dropped tonight. One from each side.
How about Enoch Smith? I've seen him a number of times kind of show up pressuring Chad President, Luke Skipper earlier.
So we've said about 8 different names on that defensive line making an impact already. Another empty set on 3rd down and long. President trying to run for it. He's got a chance, and he's got a first down. Some impressive things with his feet tonight.
And that's the one thing you heard Mike Gundy talk about. We can't let him off the hook in 3rd and long. If you're defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer, that has to make you go crazy because you got him right where you want him. You let him off the hook, you let the quarterback scramble outside for the first down in a big game.
Close to 50 yards on the night for President on the ground. Throws this one into double coverage. Bodies crashing all over, but no flag. Josh Stewart was out there. So were 2 Oklahoma State defenders. 2nd and 10.
It looked like Malik Curse.
Now, 2 of the names we've not said. Cole Walterscheid there, 82 in orange. Traylon Weber, 89 for Oklahoma State. They're kind of 2 of the household names coming into the game up front.
Yeah, Weber led the team in sacks last season. As the returning sack leader, coming back this year. And Walterscheid is a guy that Mike Gundy described as no one can beat him out. Everyone challenges for him, but they just can't beat him out.
They want Johnson down the sideline. Great coverage from Morrow, and it's 3rd down.
A lot of contact, and if you're a Tulsa fan and you want a flag, you got to get Keenan Johnson to come back to the football. I know Morrow was inside of him, but look at number 8. You got to make a move to try to come back inside more. Put your foot in the ground and get back to the football.
So another 3rd down.
Well, Tulsa 50% on 3rd down tonight. Seems like all the 3rd and longs they've almost converted on all.
A lot of them have been President taken off, which he looks to do again and then pulls the trigger and has a first down. Malik Curse popping Nigel Carter, but he has a first down inside the 35.
The senior out of Miami, Florida. Look at this big hit. Oh. That's a cornerback. I mean, usually those guys aren't as physical. They like get involved like that. They're more cover guys, but not here at Oklahoma State.
Here's Taylor. Don't you love that sound of the pads cracking? It means it's back, man.
Fantastic job by our crew to be able to be down there and pick that up.
Matt Victory, our lead audio technician. Closing minutes of this 3rd quarter. Oklahoma State in control in a game where they raced out to a 21-0 lead before Tulsa could get any momentum going. They've gathered some, but perhaps too late. On 2nd and 7, President steps into a throw. It's incomplete through the hands of Johnson. And with the exception of the great acrobatic catch Johnson made, President and Skipper haven't gotten a whole lot of help from the receivers tonight.
No, they haven't. And that wasn't a perfectly thrown ball, but it was catchable. And for Keenan Johnson, if he wants to step into that position that Kevin Lucas played last year, where he's in the slot, he's going to be coming across the middle a lot, he's got to make the tough catches.
Five for 6 on 3rd down in the 2nd half. Pressure coming from the Cowboys, so he throws off his back foot, incomplete. They brought 6 on 3rd down, 4th and 7.
This is an all blitz. It's 1-on-1 the backside. Look at all the bodies up around the line of scrimmage. Chad President knows he's going to have to get the football off because there's going to be someone unaccounted for.
7 rushers from Oklahoma State. Offense will stay on the field. And why not in a 45-17 game?
You've already converted earlier on 4th down. You've been good on 3rd down.
Trying to catch him in the middle of a substitution here, but they allow Traylon Weber to get off the field. Timeout. First time out of the 2nd half used by Tulsa. Looking at a 4th and 7 on the other side of this break. Oklahoma State in control of this one late in the 3rd quarter. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman.
Pistol
4th down
Pete
and
has to be
7.
happy, right? Pistol
Yeah,
Pete's got to be excited.
He always seems to have the same look on his face, though. Golden Hurricane going to go for it.
Look at this, though. how much space you have. Not many necessary bodies around the line of scrimmage.
President steps into that direction and now heaves one to the end zone. Nigel Carter knocked away, but a flag down. Likely pass interference on Trey Flowers.
Nigel Carter's the guy that can jump out of the gym. President tried to give him a jump ball, but couldn't quite get there. Looks like it may have been because of Flowers.
Pass interference, defense, number 31. Be a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And so the drive stays alive for Tulsa.
It's been a 4-minute drive for Tulsa. You see Carter trying to locate the football, get back to it. A lot of pushing by Flowers. Kind of both pushing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. But the drive will continue. 13th play over those 4 minutes you were talking about.
The surprising thing, you know, both teams have been substituting a decent amount, and usually they play with such a fast pace that they don't allow the other teams to. They just keep the personnel on the field.
Pressure to Downs. President stumbling, lost the football. And Kenneth Edison Magruder is going to take this one back. Touchdown Oklahoma State from 82 yards. The defense doing its best big play impression.
A year ago, this was the best team in the Big 12 at points off turnovers. It was usually because of their offense, but this time their defense is able to capitalize. Those sorts of things going to happen in the backfield. You've got a quarterback competition going into camp. You get a ton of reps, handing the football off, those meshes and everything that is involved in the running game, especially when we're talking about a system that we've seen in the Big 12 for a while with Philip Montgomery.
5th touchdown tonight of 40 yards or more. This one coming from the defense. There's the Houston, Texas native. Takes it back from 82 yards. Gundy telling us that several guys with Houston ties, but none of them closely affected at this point by the hurricane. Just holding this up real quick, make sure that the ball was out. They let him play on, so it was. .52 for the Cowboys before the third quarter comes to an end.
You see number 3, Edison Magruder. He ends up playing or trying to play Brewer as well as President, and really was just President stumbling. And unfortunately, you know, when you're in this position as a ball carrier and you start to go to the ground, you end up naturally just using your hand or your arm to brace yourself, and you kind of forget you have a football in there. Now, had it been his elbow, I believe he would have been deemed down. But because of the way he kind of fell, kind of trying to stay up, ends up being a fumble, and Oklahoma State capitalizes off of it.
Pretty interesting route he took here, huh? So much for the straight line.
Oh, and it actually almost brought Justin Hobbs.
Yeah.
Who was kind of trying to hawk him down. Fortunately, he had some blocking, but he's got to be excited.
Fastest way between point A and point B is zigzagging.
That's how you're supposed to escape, I think, crocodiles.
That's right. You make the Z shape.
Yes.
Yeah, I've read that in a book.
We talked about it. I mean, just something that Tulsa couldn't afford to do. The penalties, had 6 of them so far tonight, and they're really their first turnover, but Oklahoma State's just too good.
Touchback. Golden Hurricane to start at the 25. Saturday on FS1, Major League Baseball doubleheader. Cardinals and the Giants at 3:30 Eastern. Then it's the Angels and the Rangers. The Angels going out making a big move today, getting Justin Upton from the Tigers and solidifying themselves as a legitimate contender for the American League wild card. Who isn't at this point? Those standings chocked full near the top of the wild card.
Who do you think's going to come out of the NL?
Be interesting to see, Brady. If you go by the regular season, you'd have to like the Dodgers, wouldn't you?
They've had one heck of a year. I'm not sure what the difference is between last year and this year.
Stop it. Cody Bellinger.
All right, it's Cody Bellinger. I guess you could say there's another rookie kind of.
Yeah, you're not going to give me the bite on this. Here's Corey Taylor on first down for 3.
Look, if you're Tulsa right now, given the game is so far out of hand, I mean, these are meaningful reps for Chad President and really the rest of this offensive unit to try to get back into a rhythm, try to come up with some positive plays as you head on really the rest of the year and try to make a case for getting the top of the American Conference.
There's Taylor again, and chopped down by Kevin Henry. And it's turned into a blowout, but there have been some encouraging things for Tulsa as they move forward in a season where there were plenty of questions coming in.
Yeah, I think you look at some of the things Chad President has done. He's done some good things. There's some good things you can take away from his performance tonight. And I think his scrambles on third down, being able to keep his eyes down to make big plays at times. You mentioned it, his wide receivers haven't helped him out a ton. He hasn't received the best protection at time either.
Looking at a 3rd down and 8 here. Final minute of the 3rd quarter. Pocket collapses. He runs again. This is where he's been at his best tonight. A first down crossing the 45. He got 20 yards that time and has 70 total tonight.
Yeah, almost equating to really his career. He's had 76 yards coming into this game. That was kind of his MO. He was a better runner than a passer. Only had 5 attempts, 1 completion coming into tonight. And he just needs reps, needs more experience and more time in this system.
Here's Taylor making the first man miss and then dragged down. Oh, I think you mentioned it, but when Philip Montgomery first saw him, it was while he was an assistant at Baylor, and they had recruited him and he had committed as an athlete. First time that Montgomery saw him, he was a receiver in high school in Temple, Texas. So he went to Baylor, or at least committed to Baylor, thinking that he'd be an athlete with a chance to play quarterback. And very quickly after Montgomery took the job at Tulsa, decided to follow him there. Taylor again. This play shut down by Darian Daniels. 3rd down. And that brings this 3rd quarter to a close. Oklahoma State in the preseason top 10 for the 3rd time in its long history, justifying that and plenty more tonight as we go to the 4th. Fourth quarter coming up here in Stillwater. It is all Oklahoma State in this one. 52-17 over Tulsa. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, and Bruce Feldman. This one tonight, and then on to Norman for us on Saturday on Fox as they welcome in UTEP and hope to put on a similarly impressive 2017 debut. Quarter begins with a 3rd and 3, and President throws high, but Johnson makes a nice grab and gets a first down.
I mean, where was that earlier in the game?
Right.
Just a wonderful catch by Johnson, one-handed. As he's breaking out. It wasn't a perfectly thrown ball, but it was thrown on time, and that was the difference between that being not a conversion and maybe a conversion there.
Now they swing it out to Taylor. Can't get around the end. Cut down at the line of scrimmage by Jarrell Morrow, and it's 2nd down.
That was a heck of a play by Morrow. They had an offensive lineman out there kind of pulling, trying to occupy him, but it was all over it.
Pretty good game for Jarrell Morrow, sharing some time at the safety spot. President extending the play, now throwing to the sideline, incomplete. 3rd down.
Yeah, really nothing there. Good coverage once again by Oklahoma State. That's one thing that I think we've seen a decent amount of tonight. It might have been a question mark because of their inexperience, but one of the things you have to take into account for is their offense. The team that they're going up against all camp, it's one of the deepest, maybe the best group in the country. It's only going to help prepare them for their opponents throughout the season.
So they would run them ragged during camp. And that is not the deepest cornerback Well, those wide receivers 9 and 10 deep. It's for a long camp for those DBs. That's threaded into a tight window, and Josh Stewart has a first down. Good college debut for the freshman from Cedar Hill, Texas. He's got a first down here to the 21.
Really improved player. Kind of got to the sticks and just boxed out his defender. Looks like he was down low in the post playing basketball. We're really looking for a star to emerge in this offense. Talk about all the ability and the size that some of these guys have. Just not playing consistent enough.
D'Angelo Brewer. Shifty moves to get a few. And stopped by Jordan Brailford. They bring pressure on second down. Taylor straight up the gut for 3. Chet Whitener still in there with his hair on fire.
He's pretty fired up.
I mean, if you're going to go with the neck roll, you kind of got to complete the persona by staying fired up in a 52-17 game. Right? You can't let up.
Oh, and he's a big guy. We saw him in the elevator. I always say you don't want to see that guy in a phone booth because you're not going to be able to get out of his grasp. But we saw him in an elevator. It was equally as scary.
Yeah. Taylor again straight ahead. Put the nose down and is stopped short. Walter Scheid in there for the stop. Whitener was again. So is Taj Bakari, and it's 4th down. Chet Whitener, redshirt senior from Mansfield, Texas, has really developed into a leader for him.
Does a kind of variety of things at times. You know, almost adds as a 4th rusher when they're in 3-down looks. Obviously good against the run.
Tulsa's converted a pair of 4th downs tonight. On 4th and 2, Taylor this time not going to get there. Enoch Smith, the Michigan State transfer, stops him short.
Walter Scheid was there as well as Bakari.
You got a pretty darn good spot.
This is going to be close.
Timeouts for measurement. Updates on the score of interest. 12:53 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Indiana 14, Ohio State 13.
Just gave the score of the Ohio State-Indiana game in here, and it drew a cheer. I hear Indiana's ahead.
Indiana's ahead by 1. Looks like Ohio State hasn't quite figured out Kevin Wilson, their new offensive coordinator, former head coach at Indiana. Haven't quite figured it out.
No, he is short. Oklahoma State will take over with 11:55 left to go in this season opener. Back to Stillwater. And when we come back, we will talk Heisman Trophy. Brady gives you his favorites as we roll into this 2017 season. Cowboys in front 52-17. Mason Rudolph's day ends as Taylor Cornelius comes in. How about your Heisman hopefuls, where I noticed that Rudolph is missing?
Well, he's making a case for himself, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit, but a bunch of guys up there.
Some subliminal messaging for you. It's coming back. Cornelius hands off to L.B. Brown, who gets a few. All right, let's go back to it.
So we've got Lamar Jackson. He's going to have a great opportunity at winning it again, but Baker Mayfield, as efficient as he is, he's going to have a shot. A lot of hype around Sam Darnold after they go 9-1 last season. Saquon Barkley might be the best player in the country. Then you got Bo Scarborough. Alabama's going to be good. They're probably going to be in the college football playoff. He's going to be a big reason why, so that's going to get him some votes.
Cornelius will dump it off. Sione Fine Feyuiaki with a reception.
Flawless.
Thanks, man. Cornelius won the backup job. Big guy, 6'6", 225-pounder out of Bushland, Texas. That's J.D. or L.D. Brown for a first down.
Mike Gundy talked about the fact that he just felt like Taylor Cornelius had more experience in the system and that DeAndre Woods not far off, just needs a little more time.
Cornelius steps away from a rusher. Yeah, now throws it behind his intended receiver. It'll be 2nd and 10.
It's Landon Wolf. He's a walk-on. He's got a ton of speed, number 88. He's a redshirt freshman out of Tulsa. The guy that's kind of surprised from people in camp.
How about that? Another receiver that's good and impressive.
They've got a bunch of them. Still number 80, Tylan Wallace. He's a true freshman. Kind of raved about him as well and his speed.
Spread it around. 8 different players have caught a pass. Jalen McCluskey tonight, just 1 catch for -2. Big hole this time, and L.D. Brown, the freshman, steps into the clear. L.D. Brown down the sideline. Inside the 10, and it's 1st and goal. As the redshirt freshman from Dallas romps for 71.
My goodness. Watch as 24, L.D. Brown at DeSoto, Texas. Look at the shake and bake with the move, and then the stiff arm. They've got a ton of talent in that backfield.
This play is shut down by McKinley Whitfield. He's the 2nd freshman to have a run of more than 70 yards tonight.
And look, when you're recruiting, you use Justice Hill as an example because you know the guy needs a break, but you played him as a true freshman. So clearly your pitch is, hey, we're going to stick you in there when you're ready, but we're not afraid to put a freshman in there, a redshirt freshman.
Bring another one in, and J-Ron Wilson, who takes the fake. Cornelius chased from behind and sacked. First time we've said Jeremy Smith's name tonight. 3-year starter. Pulls Cornelius down for a loss.
He's the guy that really pops on the film on the defense for Tulsa. He's got a lot of fast twitch, quick speed off of the edge. He's relentless, as you saw in that last play, chasing down Cornelius. He's a guy I really think has a bright future for Tulsa playing on Sundays.
On 3rd and goal, Cornelius hands it off. J-Ron Wilson's first career touch, loses yards. And you said, talking about the running backs for Oklahoma State, their pitch is, look, we'll play a freshman right away. Look at what we did with Justice Hill. And my counter as a recruit would be, well, Justice Hill's only a sophomore. Why am I going to come back him up for at least 2 years?
Because you know you got to split up those reps, and it's not like Oklahoma State doesn't have a history of guys like Barry Sanders. There's some other talent in his backfield. Emmett Thomas. I mean, there's a number of times I think we've seen that, and as many plays as they run in the Big 12, you can't have the guy on the field that long.
Matt Amendola hit his first one tonight. He hooks this one. That's a spot that could be a question for the Cowboys this year, replacing the all-time leading scorer, Ben Grogan. When we come back, we'll dive a little deeper into a Bedlam preview, way far in advance, but you figure these teams are going to be around all year. We are so thrilled to have the Big Ten on Fox and FS1 this year on the very first game tomorrow night. Washington out of the college football playoff last year at Rutgers. On Saturday, Maryland and Texas, and Sunday at the Rose Bowl, it's Texas A&M and UCLA. So after a missed field goal that drives a lot of people crazy, Tulsa takes over and promptly fumbles the ball. Those same people going crazy are now very happy. Terrell Morrow recovers the fumble, and Oklahoma State takes over at the 20.
I believe it was Trey Carter and maybe Edison Magruder as well, kind of in there on the play. These guys have been getting a lot of penetration. There's Edison Magruder. It is Trey Carter, number 99, getting that big paw, a big mid on the football.
You feel bad for Shamari Brooks on his first career carry, coughing it up.
Yeah, it's never a good thing. They always call that the heavy hand. Anytime you got a fist like that or hand like that can knock the football out. But I'm sure he'll get some more opportunities, or hopefully he will. He's a true freshman. He's got to learn from that. I think he's probably more concerned he got that much penetration right from the get-go.
This college football thing's no fun, he's thinking. J-Ron Wilson on first down for a gain of 4.
These are those valuable reps for a team like Oklahoma State that has such high aspirations because they get these backups experience. So all of a sudden, if a guy goes down, they don't panic. They've got the live game experience.
Fine Fayuiaki leading the way for L.D. Brown, and a touchdown. His first career score. Freshman runs it in. Freshman provided a nice block. Tyrell Alexander. Everything going right for the Cowboys in this one.
Fine Fayuiaki leading the way. And that's that all-important Cowboy tight end position. I think there's maybe some questions about who would fill that void. We've seen Abbott do it as well. So you really feel like you got two guys who can do sort of what you did last season with those 2 tight end sets. That was key too for Mike Gundy, talking about, hey, we've run this system now where we can be in any personnel and run the same plays and still be effective doing it.
Oklahoma State's put up 59, 59-17 the score. We told you we'd talk a little more about Oklahoma State. We'll do that when we come back. Conference storylines into this 2017 season. Half of the teams are ranked. You've got new coaches at Oklahoma and Texas for the first time in the same season since 1947 when Bud Wilkinson started his tenure at OU, and Blair Cherry, who was a former baseball coach at Texas, took over the football program. And then the big thing is the championship game, back for the first time in 7 years. Bishop Louis will take a knee. We're obviously going to see Bedlam in early November, but there are a lot of people that think we could have a repeat in the championship game. Coming in, how do they stack up?
Well, look, Lincoln Riley's first year. Mike Gundy has been the consecutive longest tenured head coach. Obviously Bill Snyder, but a little stint where he missed some time. Offensively, I think you got to give the edge to Oklahoma State based on what we've seen tonight, all they have coming back. Defensively, probably Oklahoma. A little bit more experience on that side of the ball. Quarterback, it's a push. I don't care which way you go. Both are fantastic. And the schedule plays to the part of Oklahoma State. I think they've got a little bit easier schedule when you look at the home and road games. So it plays to their advantage of getting to that conference championship game. And that I think is a big discussion, because that's something that was missing in the first 3 years of the college football playoff, is not having that 13th game indicator like the playoff committee talks about. The Big 12 is going to have it this year, and they've got a round-robin schedule to kind of say, hey, we're definitively the one true champion, a slogan that they maybe dropped after the first year debacle with the college football playoff.
But here's the thing, it could backfire on you, where you could get a team, say Oklahoma State runs the table. They face a 2-loss team in the championship game and get beat.
It could backfire, but that's the same predicament that I think every other Power 5 conference is in with their conference championship game. We've seen that before. To me, it really comes down to if both teams end up with 1 loss. You've got a champion that's won, but they lost to them maybe in the regular season. That then changes things. Is who do you really determine between that? The conference champion that has the title, even though they split when you look at the regular season and the postseason. So, again, you're arguing semantics, but at the end of the day, I think it's good for the Big 12. I think they'll have a very good chance of getting one of those 2 teams in because of the conference championship.
After the Hobbs catch for 9, a first down run for Corey Taylor. Sure is going to be awesome down at Jerry's World, first weekend in December.
Jerry Jones does it right. For anyone who hasn't been to that arena, that facility, it is top-notch, as good as it gets.
You know, so much of the issue for the Big 12 in 2 of these 3 years of the playoff where they didn't get a team in was what happened in non-conference play. And there's going to be some good opportunities. You mentioned the Oklahoma trip to Ohio State, the obvious one, but there are others that will be a barometer for this conference.
That's part of the criteria that the College Football Playoff Committee wants to see. Tough non-conference opponents. I mean, you go back to last year, Big 12 didn't have the best year, in particular versus non-conference opponents. Now, bowl season they did. They went 4-2. Were projected to go like 1-5, but ended up having a good bowl season. This is going to be big for the Big 12 to make their case as this conference being amongst the best of the Power 5 conferences.
On 2nd and 3, back to the ground with Taylor, who is absolutely pummeled. Shy of the first down marker. That is not James Washington. That's Thabo Waniki making the stop. Let's check in with Bruce.
Yeah, guys, just to follow up on that non-conference point, how big it is for the Big 12.
Here's Taylor breaking loose. We'll get back to you in a moment, Bruce, because Corey Taylor is taking it to the house for a touchdown. From 55 yards, his 2nd score of the game. Go ahead, Bruce.
Just towards that end. West Virginia plays Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's actually a favorite in this. Bud Foster has almost everybody back on their defense. What will be interesting here is Will Greer, who started at Florida, was really good. It's his first game at West Virginia. I think this could be a big statement game for the Big 12. This is a big one because we know Oklahoma's going to have to go to Ohio State, and obviously Texas plays USC. This is a big opportunity for a nice win in a non-conference game for the conference.
He's right, and I think you look at Ohio State and Oklahoma, that's going to be a big one next week. Ohio State's struggling now. We'll see what Oklahoma's going to be able to do.
Mentioned the Buckeyes. They're in a tough one. We'll get an update on that game on the other side of this break. First time in 5 years Oklahoma State has had 300 yards rushing and 300 yards passing in a game. 639 total here in the season opener. Dylan Stoner to bring this one back. He's stopped at the 27. Let's go to our favorite Stoner, Rob Stoner.
Tremendous transition, by the way. Ohio State with a 22-game winning streak over Indiana. JT Barrett from 2 yards out. First Buckeye lead since the first quarter. Indiana 3 rushing yards. Ohio State 4 sacks. More on this one in the postgame show. Joe Brady, this is Stoner sending it back to you.
Thanks, Rob.
That Ohio State defensive line may be the best in the country. I mean, there's some names, too, that are kind of new to the national scene, but they are going to be tough to run the football against us. Indiana's finding out.
On first down, Cornelius goes right up the middle to Jaron Wilson. You know, coming into a season, even though there's all the hype and on paper you look really good, there's always kind of that fear. What's it actually going to look like when you get out on the field and play? And how do you think Mike Gundy's feeling about what's actually transpired once they suited him up?
I think he's got to feel good about his team and how they've performed to that. I think they met his expectations. Of course, there's some things to clean up. Clearly the turnovers, some of the decisions with guys that you really trust in McCluskey and Mason Rudolph. But all in all, I think he's got to be pleased with where they're at. And I got to tell you, from playing in college and playing in the NFL, when you don't have that preseason like they do in the NFL, you get a little bit of anxiety because if you haven't really played anyone else, you don't know how things are going to go once you play in a real game.
Jaron Wilson. Good thing for Gundy, he can go out in his fields and kind of take the load off, take the stress off.
That's not true. He's got an issue with army worms.
I heard that. He's got to deal with army worms, and he's going to have to deal with South Alabama next. On the road, won't necessarily be an easy game down in Mobile, and at Pittsburgh, the toughest of the non-conference slate.
Well, look at their home games. You know, they got Oklahoma at home, right? Bedlam's going to be at home. They got Kansas State at home as well. So they've got some games where I think they should feel confident about their ability going up against a couple of the better opponents in the Big 12. So not to say there's not tough road tests, but I think you look at the top 2 opponents besides Oklahoma State, they're at home.
I use a timeout here.
Timeout, Oklahoma State. 30-second timeout. Please stop the game clock.
A quick timeout here for Oklahoma State in front of this 3rd down and 6. And either way, regardless of the outcome of this game or how exciting it was, it sure is good just to have football back, isn't it?
It's great to be back. It's great to have the sport that we all love to watch and maybe have played for some of us out there, because it's nothing like it to kind of take our mind off maybe more serious things that are going on.
Yeah, no doubt. Oklahoma State putting on an impressive performance. I think you can say for the Cowboys, I mean, the story coming in was these playmakers on offense, and it might be an understatement to say they haven't disappointed. It's almost like they've been better to watch in person than you could have even imagined coming in.
Yeah, I think they were as advertised, and really for the defense, if there's some question marks, it's been a defense that's really handled themselves tonight versus what traditionally is a really tough offense to go up against. You know, led by their head coach in Philip Montgomery from his time at Houston, to Baylor, and now here in Tulsa, what he was able to do last season.
After the timeout, 3rd and 6. Now they hand it off to Jaron Wilson, who won't get the first down. Jeremy Smith was there with Colton Schindler. 4th down inside of 4 minutes.
Don't get me wrong, just because Mason Rudolph wasn't on that Heisman list, it doesn't mean he's not a legitimate contender. You know, our colleague Joel Klatt, he thinks he's got a great chance of winning it this year because he's, you know, somewhat unknown on the national scene. I think last year kind of put him on the map, but he wouldn't be considered a favorite. And I think if you look through the past of Heisman Trophy winners, Joel's right. There's a good amount of guys who have wanted that kind of come out of nowhere, or at least weren't the favorite going into it.
Kerwin Thomas back to return this punt from Zach Seiner. Makes a nice grab, it appeared, but the ball came out. They've whistled it dead at the 23. So much for the nice grab, but not going to cost him. Let's go down to Bruce.
Hey guys, we were talking about the Hurricane Harvey and situation down in Texas. So many colleges have really stepped up on the relief effort, and certainly here in Stillwater, new Oklahoma State basketball coach Mike Boynton had responded to Kelvin Sampson, the Houston basketball coach's appeal for shirts and shoes. And what Boynton did was he had led a drive here on Tuesday where hundreds of people showed up with shoes and cases of water and cases of diapers, anything they could to help folks impacted by Harvey. When I talked to Boynton today, he said, I'm unbelievably prideful that I'm a part of a community that rallies for people in need, because that's really what we're all here for, to help each other out.
All right, Bruce, and our thoughts with everybody down there dealing with awful situation.
And it's not over.
No.
I mean, people need to realize that they still need help. Please send and donate all you can.
Keenan Johnson with a first down reception, turns it upfield for a first down. Inside 3 minutes in this season opener. First time these teams have met since 2011. Well, the one thing Tulsa has going for them in this one is that they don't have to wait to take the loss until after 3 a.m. Did you read that about the last time these teams got together with the weather delay? Game didn't get going until after midnight because of a lightning delay, and they finished at 3:35 in the morning and suffered a similar loss. It was 59-33. At least in this case, they get to bed at a decent time.
I hope so.
Yeah. Shamari Brooks. Now, what do you think of Tulsa moving forward into the American schedule?
Well, I think they've got to still figure some things out on the outside. I mean, this is an offense that can really be dynamic in the passing game, but some guys have to be a little bit more consistent. Justin Hobbs, Keenan Johnson in particular, those guys got to come up with the tough catches, and then they've really got to be the guys that I think Chad President can rely on whenever he throws up those 50-50 balls. I think the offensive line did a fair job at times tonight. I think they eventually just got worn out. Went up against probably a more talented defensive front than maybe they're capable of, but also the fact that Oklahoma State kept rotating in fresh bodies, and that's tough to go up against time after time again.
Keenan Johnson off of the feed from President. It seems like they have settled into Chad President as this game has gone on, and expect that he'd be the guy moving forward, at least on the next week. He's reached 50% on the day, almost 200 yards.
Again, the silver lining for him is just their conversion on third down. I mean, they're 60% for the day. Chad President had a lot to do with that. And if you're Philip Montgomery and you're looking for, you know, kind of some optimism or hope it's really the way he performed on that critical down to be able to sustain drives and help continue them down the field.
And they've run for over 200 yards overall. Part of that has been President, 70 yards for him. 100-yard rusher in Corey Taylor.
There's that misconception, we talked about it earlier, just because they play more of that spread style where you see the wide splits with the wide receivers. But really that's more about clearing things up for the offensive line to run the ball. And if you look at their breakdown of play calls, they were 68% run last year on first down and about 56% on second down. So, really they're a team that's still based off the run, even though they have this identity as wanting to always air it out.
So that will do it for this one. Looks like Tulsa's going to let it run, or they may try to get one more play in. So Oklahoma State will get its 22nd consecutive win in a home opener. They do put it in play with Shamari Brooks. And now the game will come to a close. 59-24 the final. Mike Gundy's squad justifying that nice preseason ranking with a blowout win over Tulsa. For Brady and Bruce and the rest of our crew, Joe Davis giving it to Rob Stone and the guys in LA for more post-game coverage.
All right, guys, 1,065 total yards of offense. That's how we like to start our college football season. Oklahoma State checking in at number 10 in the land. An emphatic victory over Tulsa, 59-24. Mason Rudolph, we talked about him in the pregame. He lived up to the billing, particularly early on. So many big scoring plays for Oklahoma State. His final numbers at 303. Matt, you have a guy like Rudolph on your roster. Just that alone, what does that do for a program like Oklahoma State?
Well, it puts them in contention. When you have a dynamic playmaker at that position, you have a great supporting cast around him. I mean, you talk about these receivers we talked about in the pregame, but they're loaded. They got size, they got speed, an offensive line that did a great job blocking all night, a run game that was extremely effective. And I know it's against Tulsa. Tulsa doesn't have a great defense, but this is exactly what we thought they would do. And when you have Mason Rudolph, who's a legit Heisman contender, you're going to win a lot of games, and you're going to be in the hunt every single year. Again, I said in the pregame, he came back for one purpose, to win a championship, got off to a great start.
His first touchdown of the season, a 44-yard strike. The coach's guy, Tyron Johnson, the kid from LSU. You called it, man. You did your research.
I called it in the pregame show. Heck yeah, bang. He's an athlete. He's
overall, Oklahoma State's offense tonight, 640 total yards of offense. But maybe the concern is on the defensive side. Does their offense have enough to overcome the early liabilities on the D?
Well, before the game, I thought so, but maybe not so now. I mean, you kind of look at this team now, and what they were able to do against Tulsa, really weren't able to generate any pressure. And this is clearly not the best offensive line that they're going to face. If they play like they did tonight, they will not win the Big 12.
Let's go back to Stillwater right now. The coach and the star quarterback standing by with our Bruce Feldman. Bruce?
Mike, when you have this kind of offensive explosion, what are the things you're going to harp on for them to just take the next step and keep getting better?
Well, we need to look and see where we had some flaws. I think there was a few times early we missed a few blocks. Need to do a better job of taking care of the football. But overall, I was really proud of the way we made a lot of big plays and used the explosive guys that we have on our offense. And then defensively, we played great. We cost ourselves 10 points. For the most part, they give up some yards, but once we adjusted and started tackling better, we played better.
You held this really prolific offense, only 2 offensive touchdowns. What's the thing that impressed you most about your guys on defense?
Well, I thought they had a little bit of the bend but not break theory. We gave up a long one here in the end. Other than that, we gave up one long drive, and I think we played pretty good. Tulsa's got a great scheme. It's hard to hold them down. They've got some young quarterbacks, and obviously they're going to get better in the future. But this guy played great, and they had great leadership from our team. I'm proud of our guys for the first game.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Mason, huge game tonight. You get Marcel Aitman back. Tyron Johnson from LSU, now he's eligible. What does that do to change your offense now?
There's a lot of it adds that depth that you need at receiver position. We already had a lot of guys, last year in those key spots, but they've been great. They're a very competitive group. Practice is more fun. sometimes, and then even tonight, because those guys they're going at it, they're getting a lot of reps. And you saw it tonight, very explosive, and they made big plays for us.
I don't know if you know this, but you passed your coach, Mike Gundy. You're now third all-time on Oklahoma State's career touchdown passing list. Any bittersweet feelings about that?
I may have passed him there, but I don't have that. The hair game is still, I'm still behind him there. So we'll work on that. That's a work in progress. But no, anytime you can climb those rankings, it's awesome. It's a tribute to our team and what we've been able to do, the guys around me. So it's a blessing, and that doesn't matter to me. That we're going to work forward to South Alabama and hit practice hard tomorrow.
Thanks, Mason. Rob, back to you.
Bruce, thank you. Look, Mason, that's not a hair game you want to win. Yeah, it's don't, right?
It's a Pyrrhic victory.
Take the L. Please, take the L there.
You gotta love the guy, though. You know what I mean? He can't.
You know what?
Not many quarterbacks. I don't like many quarterbacks. Okay. Except,
I was thinking.
But I love him. This guy is special.
Coach's hair rivals Gundy.
It really.
He doesn't have the mullet, but you got some years on Coach. You got some years on Gundy, but you're still, a little salt and pepper.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's very, very full, though.
Okay. Thank you.
It is full.
Let's keep talking about the Cowboys. Back-to-back 10-win seasons from them. But is that going to be enough to get them into the national title conversation? 10 wins won't do it. They're going to need a couple more. And from what you saw tonight, we know the offense has got that big play capability. The defense, maybe some early concerns, but are they a national title contender in your eyes?
Well, in the beginning of the show, I said I did not think so because I wasn't sure if they could make enough plays on defense. I mean, tonight was impressive. I mean, give Mike Gundy, give this football team credit. With no preseason games, as you mentioned earlier, Robert, Matt, you mentioned average 14 yards a play in the first half. I mean, that's crazy. But I look at this thing and say, okay, now there's going to be games when maybe it's the weather conditions, maybe your quarterback's off a little bit, whatever the circumstance is, where you have to have controlled drives. You don't have to, and you're not going to be able to get the 60-yard bombs. And they had one today that was encouraging. Obviously, they had in the third quarter, they had a 14-play drive, 80 yards. It took almost 6 minutes, and this was impressive. To me, there's that old saying, you throw the ball to score points, you run the ball to win games and shut games out. And I think that's kind of what I'm referring to. There's going to be games where they do have the lead, but it won't be by 25 points. Now, can they get that football and sustain an 8-10 play drive like they did there and close the game out? Which today they proved that they could do it. They just didn't need it. We'll see as the competition gets better.
I don't think, I know you guys were down on the defense a little bit. I don't think the defense was as bad as you thought because Tulsa offensively, remember, they're a potent offense. They were a great offense last year. I know they lost key players, but you heard Gundy say it right there. It's a difficult scheme. You're going to give up yards. 24 points given up, only 2 offensive touchdowns they scored. So in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the day, they're going to be really, really happy with this win. They beat a team who won 10 games a year ago. Look, it's only week 1. You have a lot of areas to improve on. I don't think defensively the pass rush is a concern because you have to get to these quarterbacks in the Big 12. You have to disrupt the timing of the offense. But I'm still a believer. It's early, but I'm still a believer.
I'm not a believer anymore. It only took, it only took the one game because I don't see that guy, Matt. I don't see the Vincent Taylor. I don't see the Emmanuel Ogbah. I don't see the suddenness, the athleticism out of anybody on that defensive line that leads me to believe that when they need to generate pass rush with a conventional front, that they're going to be able to do it, that they're going to be able to stop the run when they need to. And you look at the offenses throughout the Big 12. I mean, you look at Texas, you look at Oklahoma, you look at Kansas State. I don't see that. I don't see anybody on that defense that kind of fills that role. I don't see it now.
It was
one game.
One game.
It's one game.
A little bit of good news for Oklahoma State. They don't have Central Michigan on the schedule this year.
They won that game last year.
They don't have to go through that September 10th
They won that game last year.
The guys brought it up on the broadcast.
Now you're back on them again. Make up your mind.
Last year.